This is ESPN, the Total Sports Network.
Next on College Game Day, we ring in the new year with the debate from the old. Who will be number one?
We should win the national championship. We go 12-0, we'll have it. I really believe that Michigan's a better team than Miami, and we're going to be playing the number 2 team in the country now, January 1st.
If we beat Washington and we get help from Nebraska, then we should be national champions.
I think we're playing as well as any team in the nation is right now, but I'm biased.
The number 1 Canes may hold destiny in their hands, but where will destiny take their coach? And after a Rose Bowl showcase, will Desmond opt for bucks or books? We'll break down the race for the ring or rings next on College Game Day. The Orange Bowl. Will another champion be crowned or uncrowned in this fabled horseshoe when the Canes host the Huskers tonight? Or will the Rose Bowl finally give bloom to a national champion as the Huskies and Wolverines meet in the biggest Pasadena party in 2 decades? Or might fate allow the Sugar Bowl to play a part in the quest for number 1? Florida still has improbable dreams of a national title. And good morning and a happy new year from all of us here at College Game Day, and to you, Lee. Put away the aspirin. We'll wake you up and get you ready for a big day in college football. We'll find out, Lee, if the season begins on a note of clarity or controversy as far as who's number 1. We're going to check in with all 3 of the sites we showed you in just a second as we hop around the country and cover all of the angles in college football's biggest day. We're a full hour, as usual, just a little earlier this morning as we take you up to the kickoff of the Peach Bowl. America's Cinderella team, East Carolina, and the brilliant quarterback Jeff Blake takes on 9-2 NC State. And we'll dial up Atlanta on the satellite in just a little while. But first, a check of the game day stories as we count down to kickoff in today's key 3 bowls, starting with Steve Cyphers in Miami. Steve, Happy New Year. Now, the question I have for you, Omar Soto, Nebraska's fullback, ruled ineligible. The Huskers may have to forfeit some games and their share of the Big 8 title. Do you get a read on how that's going to affect them psychologically tonight?
Well, to tell you the truth, Chris, I haven't been in touch with the Cornhuskers. You know, they're sequestered the night before the game, and Tom Osborne yesterday morning really didn't have a feel how it would affect his team. But talking to a couple of people around the club last night, they were saying this is a group of players who likes to overcome any obstacle it's faced this season. For instance, they got beat by Washington in disappointing fashion. They were down up 21-9 before they got beat. They were down behind Colorado, came back to tie. They were behind Oklahoma, turning over the ball in the first quarter, came back to win. So they overcome obstacles. They're comfortable with that, and I think they might come back to rally around the Soto situation tonight. We might see that. A couple of things we know we will see. We'll see a solid Miami passing attack. We'll see a solid Nebraska running game. But there is one thing we will not see. We won't see the Hurricanes take the field through a cloud of smoke. As the Big 8 representative and thus the home team, Nebraska has asked that Miami not be allowed to do what it does before every home game. Well, the Orange Bowl committee agreed, so for the first time in 25 years, the Hurricanes are going smokeless. Of course, this is only part of the national championship picture. There's the Rose Bowl with undefeated Washington taking on Michigan. That game kicks off about 4 hours before this game, so the Hurricanes could know the Rose Bowl final before they take the field against Nebraska. Matter of fact, Coach Dennis Erickson has made special preparations to keep an eye on that game.
Yeah, I got about 15 TVs set up in the locker room, and we're going to kind of, they're going to, we'll still be at the hotel. They have TVs in there. I'm not going to go around and check every room to see if they're watching the Rose Bowl. I'm sure that they will. I will.
And Coach Erickson won't be alone. A lot of people will, including ESPN's Mark Schwartz, who has more on the Rose Bowl from Pasadena.
All right, Steve, here in Pasadena, 2 teams gunning for a national championship, but the Michigan Wolverines may have to do so without some of their ammunition. Center Steve Everett, who injured a leg in practice last week, is questionable for the game against Washington. He is off the crutches. They expected he might play some, but it looks as if the Wolverines will go with Elliott at center and Doug Skeen moving into the starting lineup at left guard.
It's one thing I'll say that we have a plus in a guy like Matt Elliott when you can take a guard and put him right over to center and you're not miss a lot. Coordination isn't quite there, but it's not that far off.
One thing to keep in mind about Steve Everett, he does have a tremendously high threshold for pain. After breaking his jaw in 3 places against Notre Dame, coaches practically had to plead with Everett to stay out of the Florida State game. Another young man who has shown powers of quick recovery is Steve Entman, who was on his back with the flu all week, returned to practice on Monday and seems to be at or near 100%.
It'll depend a lot on Steve and how he feels. If Gary's got a 14-play drive going, you know, he will not be out there 14 plays, I don't think.
God, that sounds exciting now. I'm going to tell you that, huh? That sounds, I'm for that.
Several factors will determine how much Entman does play today, including the weather. If it's warm, Entman will go a while, and temperatures are expected to be near 70. That chance of rain has been wiped out by the Weather Service. Another place where there's not expected to be any weather problem, inside the Superdome, where Andrea Kramer is standing by.
Thanks a lot, Mark. Florida is one of only 2 teams in the country to have a 3,000-yard passer and a 1,000-yard rusher. But that 1,000-yard rusher, sophomore Eric Reck, will not be starting in the Sugar Bowl. He's missed too many classes for Coach Steve Spurrier's liking. Willie McClendon will start in his place. As for the 3,000-yard passer, quarterback Shane Matthews has a touch of the flu, but he appears completely recovered from his December 3rd knee surgery.
My knee's feeling fine. There's no pain at all. I've been, you know, full go at all the practices since we've been here in New Orleans, and you know, there's a little swelling in there, but that's normal after surgery.
Matthews has to feel better going up against an Irish defense which has given up 112 points in their past 3 games. Holtz has fewer worries on offense, though, an offense which he says is the best since he's been at Notre Dame. But once again, the big question for Notre Dame in a bowl game is, will he or won't he? Will quarterback Rick Meyer make himself available for the NFL draft, robbing Holtz of his star player for the 2nd year in a row?
We lost a Rocket, which was a great athlete. That's like losing a hubcap. When you lose a quarterback, it's like losing the motor of a car.
You know, there's a lot of things that go into it. The obvious things are there's a salary cap possibly, there's big money. I want to graduate. I'd like to win a championship.
Well, Meyer can't get his championship this year, and as for Florida, maybe they just need a little luck of the Irish. In closing, a bit of trivia for you. Florida and Notre Dame have never faced each other, but Lou Holtz and Steve Spurrier have, and not just on the golf course. 1976, the New York Jets, coached by Lou Holtz, went up against and beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, led by Steve Spurrier. From the Sugar Bowl, I'm Andrea Kramer. Let's head back to College Game Day.
All right, Andrea. Now, Lee, the Gators scenario for chewing on a piece of the national title really isn't that far-fetched.
Not really, because if Florida and Michigan both win, I think we'll have a split poll again this year. Florida, who's number 3 in the AP poll, will win that poll. Michigan, who's number 3 in the coaches poll, will win that one.
Florida, though, will have to win impressively, I think, because Notre Dame has not been impressive. Will they handle the Irish tonight?
Remember one thing about Florida. They're 0-1 inside. They lost in the Carrier Dome to Syracuse. Notre Dame has an option play that can hurt the Gators, but the Gators' sophisticated passing attack is too much for the Irish. I like Florida by at least 10 points.
Classic speed versus muscle. Speed usually prevails, right? All right, now to the other 4 games we haven't mentioned so far, starting with the duel in the desert between the Nittany Lions and the Volunteers, both on an upswing.
Penn State visits the Fiesta Bowl for the first time since '86, when they shocked Miami for the national championship. As they face Tennessee, the Lions are a perfect 4-0 in the Fiesta, a fact that helps them get over the sting of being snubbed by the Sugar Bowl.
We very much have enjoyed the Fiesta Bowl. Fiesta Bowl is is as good a bowl, if not better, than any bowl trip we make.
Meanwhile, the Vols have won 5 straight bowl games, the last 4 by a touchdown or less. The Citrus Bowl is an interesting matchup, Clemson and Cal. The Tigers' quick search and destroy defense is rated 4th in the nation, but the Bears have the 4th highest scoring offense, balanced between Russell White's running and Mike Pulaski's passing. In recent years, this game has produced Citrus squashings. Only 1 of the last 5 has been decided by a touchdown or less. The Cotton Bowl is left out again of the national title picture. Florida State went from number 1 in the nation to number 3 in their state, following heartbreaking losses to Miami and Florida.
Oh, I told you this is a tough state. Getting by the state, that's why we set our goal several years to win the state championship so you can win a national championship. It's been very tough, you know, to be number one for week after week after week after week and then get knocked out of it by one point.
The Noles won't have leading rusher Amp Lee today. He's ineligible because of subpar grades. Backup Sean Jackson is bigger but not as shifty. He'll have to pick up the slack against a punishing Texas A&M bunch that's ranked #1 in total defense. The Aggies think they can punish Casey Weldon and play keep away with their ground attack that's ranked #7 in yards per game. A&M has won 9 straight since their stunning 1-point loss at Tulsa. Syracuse and Ohio State match up in the Hall of Fame Bowl. Paul Pasqualoni is the first Orangeman coach to go bowling in his first season, and his 9 wins are the most ever for a rookie. On the other side of the field, John Cooper, fresh off a 3-year contract extension but sporting a very low approval rating among Buckeye backers. Cooper seeks to erase memories of last year's embarrassing Liberty loss to Air Force. But the Orangemen have been tough in bowls, 3-0-1 in their last 4.
America holding its breath waiting for that Syracuse-Ohio State game. A little crowded on New Year's Day. Some games get lost in the shuffle. And, of course, the first New Year's Day game, the Peach Bowl, which follows us live on ESPN. We'll check in with those folks later on. In the last game of '91, last night in Tucson, underdog Indiana spanked Baylor 24-0. Vaughn Dunbar, 106 yards. He finishes with 18:05, passing Anthony Thompson, the all-time rusher, down at Indiana. A little bit later on, it's Miami versus Washington. Not in the playing field, but on the circuit board of a computer. And next up, we'll take up the real-world matchup of the Huskies and Wolverines and hear from Heisman Desmond Howard. Again, Washington's defense department cover him up. What may be his college swan song. Don't go away.
College Game Day, a New Year's Day special, is brought to you by Bud Light. Everything else is just a light.
And welcome back. Coming up at 11:30 Eastern Time, the Peach Bowl from Atlanta. The Cinderella team, East Carolina. They had a 10-1 season for Bill Lewis. They're playing on New Year's Day for the first time ever. The no-name school from Greenville challenging the big state school from Raleigh, NC State. The last time they met, the opener in '87, after the Pirates pulled off the upset in Raleigh, their fans tore down the goalposts and started celebrating. NC State fans took exception. A brawl broke out, and some fans had to be taken out on stretchers. Some lingering bad blood between the fans, but really not the players. We expect a friendlier holiday get-together in Atlanta today. For a look at that matchup, we're going to bring in now Ron Franklin and Mike Gottfried, getting set to call the game for us in a little while. Good morning, fellas, and Happy New Year to you.
Chris, Happy New Year to you. And I'll tell you what, if you want to think they've forgotten, you're out of your mind. This is the earliest sellout in the history of this bowl game as #21 ranked North Carolina State takes on #12 East Carolina. This is a true story. I came down in the elevator this morning at 20 minutes of 6 to go get a newspaper, and there were 2 guys on the elevator talking, and one of the fellas said, "I've never forgiven them for tearing down our goalpost." So if you think they've forgotten what happened, no, they certainly have not. Mike, earliest sellout, and there's good reason for that, isn't there?
Ron, a bowl game, a rivalry. This is going to be a special game.
This has been the year of the quarterback, so to speak. Those that were to have been, those that did, and those who didn't, right?
Well, the season started out with Houston's David Klingler being the lead candidate for the Heisman Trophy. Ty Detmer finished his career against Iowa in the Holiday Bowl with a good year. Casey Weldon had the big year for Florida State and led Bobby Bowden's team. And Tommy Maddox of UCLA is the quarterback of the future. But when you look at quarterbacks, don't let out Jeff Blake of East Carolina because he is an outstanding throwing quarterback. You're going to see a quarterback that throws the football short and long. You see him run the option. He's a double threat. He can hurt you throwing the football, and he can hurt you running the football. He is an outstanding quarterback that should be in the best quarterbacks in the country.
This team is the same club that knocked off Syracuse at the Carrier Dome, which you saw just a moment ago. They also defeated Pittsburgh, and probably one of the best commentaries that you can get is from the opposing coach. Here's what Dick Sheridan has to say.
He's more than just a passer. You know, he's an excellent runner also and a great team leader, and he has the knack for making the big plays, scrambling around and turning bad plays into good plays. He is the kind of player that you really are not going to stop. You have to just hope to slow him down.
So, Chris, we're standing by at Fulton County Stadium for the supremacy of Tobacco Road, the battle for North Carolina.
All right, fellas, thanks very much. We look forward to that. We'll have Lee's thoughts on the game and a pick from Norm Hitchcock on the Peach Bowl in a little while. Now to the Rose Bowl. After a dozen years in exile, the granddaddy is back, a major player in the New Year's Day fray for the first time since '79. Finally, a Rose Bowl game that is not an anticlimax to the parade. Washington with its superb balance, smothering defense. Michigan with muscle up front and magic from Desmond Howard. Among the many matchups to weigh, quarterback. Elvis Grbac was the nation's most efficient passer. 24 touchdowns, only 5 interceptions. Today is his 28th career start. For Washington, Billy Joe Hobert was supposed to be the weak link. His inexperience, the reason why many experts evacuated the Husky bandwagon in the preseason. But as Mark Schwartz reports, Seattle is now singing an ode to Billy Joe, a straight-throwing, straight-talking regular hometown hero.
If you took Jim McMahon, dressed him in purple, and dropped him in the Pacific Northwest, you might have Billy Joe Hobert. Rather than a Pete Rozelle headband, Brash Bill's fashion statement du jour is the headwear of the enemy. But the kid can play. Don James called his debut the most impressive by a Husky quarterback in 17 years at Washington.
I think the first 4 plays we had were passing. He was 7 for 7 after his first 7 throws. And I went to the sidelines, and I still couldn't believe, you know. And I think what Coach Gilbertson was doing was saying, hey, Billy, this is what it's going to take to win this year, so you might as well start doing it right now.
Hobert spent last season as the freshman apprentice to Mark Brunell. Gifted and popular, Brunell led the Huskies to their first Rose Bowl victory since '82 and was the game's MVP. But the Roses wilted in April when Brunell tore both major knee ligaments in spring practice.
Closest thing to probably compare it to would be like a funeral.
It's like, oh, my God, it's like a part of the city almost fell off into the Puget Sound, you know? And here's Billy sitting there knowing he's going to be a starting quarterback, and that's a lot to deal with, but, you know, it didn't even faze him.
Brunell's injury never did faze the Huskies, but it did scare away a couple of publications which planned to put Washington #1 in the preseason. Both Inside Sports and Playboy backed off, and several others also put Washington behind a few schools, most notably Miami, whom the Huskies still trail in the AP poll.
I don't think the polls and the people who decided on those polls knew Billy Joe Hobert. I mean, they didn't know that he was a talented quarterback. He could run, he could throw, he was smart.
Though he lacks Brunell's 4.5 speed, Hobert has proven to be the more prolific passer. And under his fiery leadership, the Huskies have been even more potent than last year. But when he stumbled at USC, Hobert was roasted by an ex-Boilermaker.
Greasy even made a statement. Bob Greasy, he called me the weak link on the UW football team. And at that particular time, I was. But that's because I play an instinct, and sometimes your instincts don't go too well.
He was called the weak link. That might have got to him a little bit, but, you know, he was due for an off game, but it's just he knows that he can do anything he sets his mind to do, and nobody can tell him different. And if you tell him different, he's going to go out to try and prove you wrong.
I remember Billy one time said that he loved proving people wrong because the critics were against him.
For the second year in a row, an inexperienced quarterback rewarded the Huskies with a trip to Pasadena. It's a credit to Don James, his staff, and his system. And to a pair of young men, one with the courage and determination to recover his health, the other with the talent to help Washington recover their #1 ranking. In Seattle, Mark Schwartz for College Game Day.
A few weeks ago, old Billy Joe said, forget the Rose Bowl. He wanted Miami. And, of course, he met the Rose Bowl officials and had to apologize to them.
Well, you can imagine. The kid's 6'4", 225 pounds. He's undefeated. He can say anything he wants to. Remember, Washington has the best 1-2 combination of quarterbacks in college football. Billy Joe Hobert, in his come-from-behind victory against Nebraska, shows a quick release. What I like, Mark Brunell, is the fact if you watch him on this option play against the Rose Bowl team, Iowa last year, he has excellent speed. Now, this is Brunell last year against Iowa. Watch him go in there and make that great run. It gives him a dynamite combination of a great young passer and a terrific runner.
You get the lefty out of the bullpen if they need him, if Hobert gets hurt. Both those guys are back next year. Now, of course, the main job for Hobert and for Elvis Grbac of Michigan is to arm the big weapons in their offense. For Washington, of course, it's Mario Bailey. for Michigan, it is Desmond Howard. Howard ran away with the Heisman as easily as he ran away from defenders on the way to his 23 touchdowns. Mitch Albom recently visited with college football's brightest star, who's expected to give up more books for massive bucks.
And this year's winner is Michigan's Desmond Howard. Congratulations, Desmond.
I plan on attending the University of Michigan next year to pursue my degree in sociology, a PhD in sociology.
This much we know about Desmond Howard. He's the Heisman Trophy winner, and his big dream for now is to lead Michigan past #2 Washington in the Rose Bowl. But then what? Will the junior star stay around campus for one more year, or will he step out into the big time of professional football?
The life expectancy of professional football players may be, what, 3.5 years, and that's his career. And a lot of players don't know what to do after that, so I would at least like to start my graduate school or have a sound base in my graduate school studies before I seek out a professional career.
The last 3 Heisman Trophy winners were all juniors, and 2 of them came out into the NFL draft. Ironically, both play here for the Detroit Lions, just up the road from Desmond Howard. Andre Ware won the award in 1989, and a year before, the Heisman went to Barry Sanders. Now, both of them initially said they would stay in school, but both changed their minds.
Right now, I'm dead set on coming back next year. And I feel that it's a bright future for both myself and the Detroit Lions.
I've come to the conclusion that it would be in my best interest to renounce my last year of eligibility and pursue a career in professional football.
I knew that it'd be virtually impossible for me the following year to really devote the time I needed to studying. So it's almost like now when I look back at it, I don't even see how I really consider staying.
Last year, Rocket Ismail skipped his senior year at Notre Dame for the financial riches of the Canadian League. And there's talk that Canada is interested in Howard as well. For now, Desmond says he's staying put. But would he feel hypocritical if an offer came along that was too good to refuse?
I wouldn't really feel like a hypocrite because a lot of situations are different. I think mine is different than a lot of other ones because I will have my degree in May, whereas a lot of them didn't even have an undergrad degree. Basically, I realized that what Desmond Howard has to do is make a decision for himself, and, you know, I have to be happy or content in the end.
You're not going to start talking about yourself in the third person now, are you, Desmond?
Of course, I want Heisman.
Get that $1 million smile and soon probably the $1 million contract. Now, Lee, the Huskies haven't had to cover anyone in Desmond's class all season. Of course, the other problem is explosiveness as a returner.
Yeah, he's a great football player. You know, Desmond Howard gained a lot of national press catching the fade, but where he really won the Heisman is when he catches the ball on punts and kickoff returns. He can score from any spot on the field at any time in the game. He's a tremendous football player. Here he is against Ohio State on a punt return. If you'll notice right here, his great acceleration. He just takes off and flies right past the Ohio State Buckeyes for a touchdown. This is where he won the Heisman, and this is where he'll make the biggest impact in pro football. It's on the special teams.
The Huskies, though, the maximum punt return they allow was 21 yards. The longest kickoff return, 42 yards. They do have confidence in their coverage teams. We'll see if they kick it to them, though. Now, as a pure receiver, Washington has a guy that's really Desmond's equal. Mario Bailey has 1 more catch, 87 more yards, 2 less touchdown receptions than Howard. Michigan hasn't faced anyone as good as Bailey.
It's going to be one of those things, him and Desmond Howard. It's going to be one of those battles, and the best player is going to win that game.
I personally believe that Mario is a better receiver, and yes, that's biased, but, you know, who cares? That's my personal feeling, and I think it'll show in the Rose Bowl if I can get the ball to him.
Obviously, you don't have any one way to cover a guy like that. If you do, you're going to get beat. So you got to have some change-up coverage. You got to play him some man, some zones.
He's looking touchdown. It is. Oh, what a catch!
Michigan and other places, they publicize maybe just one player a lot, and we just don't do that. So it's all right, you know, if we did try and publicize me a little more, then I might have been on ESPN. You never know.
We had you on ESPN, Mario. Relax. Now, Lee, we heard Billy Joe Hobart, play analyst, saying that the winner of that big play battle, Howard versus Bailey, would decide the game. You're the real analyst. What do you agree?
Well, I don't agree with him. And I'll tell you why. Because in this situation, in games this big, it's not the individuals that win. It's the team that plays the closest to the potential and plays the best ball game. Washington's difficult to beat because of offensive balance. Remember one thing. Only 8 yards difference between rushing and passing per game, and that is balance. Washington is tremendous offensively.
What about Michigan's offense? They've been hard to stop, too. The big offensive line against Entman. How are they going to block him? Are they going to be able to move the pile backwards?
Well, I don't think the running game is important for Michigan as much as that pass protection. Elvis Grbac must have time to throw the ball to Desmond Howard. One interesting fact, Michigan has allowed only 6 sacks this year. That's the key to the ball game.
Maybe if they give them time, they can avoid the mistakes, because turnovers are what made Washington's defense so great. They forced 39 turnovers, but just too much speed for the Huskies. We saw Florida State exploit that against Michigan.
Yeah, but let me tell you something. As good as I think Washington is, Michigan is good enough to make this a close ball game, and I like Washington in a very close ball game by 1 touchdown.
I don't think it's going to be that close, but we'll find out who Norm Hitchcock likes in Pasadena and get his other predictions on the 7 games today, right after a timeout. And later, look back at the Rose Bowl that was rocked by war. Players went right from the playing field to the battlefield. We'll relive some of their stories a half-century later on Game Day. Welcome back. Norm Hitchcock joins us for a look at today's 8 New Year's Day bowl games. A record around 500 for the season, but perfect on the year
Happy
so
New
far
Year.
for 1992. Same to you. We'll start with the Cotton Bowl, A&M and Florida State. 2 questions. How good is A&M, and is Florida State, did they leave their heart with the 2 losses to the rivals in state?
I think that's the big question. Did they leave their heart on the field in the Miami and the Florida State, Florida games at the end of the season? But, you know, Bobby Bowden's sort of a master at getting disappointed teams ready for bowls. Florida State's been disappointed just about every year at this time. And yet Bowden's team stand 10-3 in the bowls. These Aggies may be next year's national champion with 27 freshmen and sophomores in their first and second string. But A&M hasn't faced anyone remotely as quick as these Seminoles, going 10-1 against a pretty weak schedule in a down year in the Southwest Conference. A&M falls behind early, must pass to catch up. And this one gets out of hand. The Sugar Bowl matches Florida's high-octane offense. They've scored at least 29 points 8 times against a Notre Dame defense that's without question the worst of any of the 16 teams that play today. These Irish couldn't slow down a funeral procession. 5 of their last 6 opponents rushed for at least 230 yards. Florida drilled 5 bowl opponents this year by an average of 22 points a game. This one, I think, may be a runaway.
Gators hoping for upsets in the Rose and Orange Bowl. It's one of the 2 games that will decide who's #1 this year.
I don't think there's going to be much of an argument after it's over. I really don't know. I have nothing but admiration for Washington, and we all know Michigan's shaky Rose Bowl record. But much of the Wolverines' Pasadena problems in the past came from not being comfy on a grass surface. This year, they switched their home field to grass. Now Washington's having to make the surface switch. Underdogs getting 7 or more points in a bowl game, like Michigan, stand a gaudy 39-18 over the last 7 years. Take the underdog in the ABC TV version of 60 Minutes. One big underdog I won't touch is Nebraska. Historically, the Big 8 is absolutely the worst conference in the country at bowl time, less than a 40% proposition. Teams like Miami getting to play on their own surface win just about 75% of the time. Nebraska's lost its last 3 bowl games by margins of 20 or more. One final note. This is only the Huskers' 7th time on grass in 9 years. I think Miami romps to a national championship.
Really?
Yeah,
okay, now to the other 4 games, starting with the Peach Bowl, which follows our show, East Carolina, the Cinderella team, and NC State.
I love a minor upset here. I really love a minor upset. In fact, my favorite selection of the remaining 4 is a Peach Bowl upset. East Carolina has not been bowling since 1978, and yet they've been made a favorite over NC State that's appearing in a 4th straight bowl. Such inexperienced bowl favorites are a woeful 3-18 coming into the 91 bowl season. NC State's better D and bigger experience produced a tiny upset. In the Florida Citrus Bowl, another call for an underdog based on better defense. Clemson permits a microscopic 1.5 yards per carry against the run. With Russell White stopped, the day turns black for California. We have one question about the Hall of Fame Bowl. What's Ohio State doing here? Under Coach Cooper, they've beaten only 4 of 21 bowl teams they've played. It's a 4th straight postseason win for Syracuse. Finally at the Fiesta, Tennessee's defense is the worst unit on the field today, and there's no better coach in the country at dissecting a vulnerable defense than Joe Shades. Paterno's teams stand a solid 11-5 at the bowls, and they get it done again today.
So you play favorites in 5 of the 8 today, despite the fact that underdogs have done very well. We'll take an in-depth look at the Orange Bowl next and hear from Canes coach Dennis Erickson, who says an NFL job can wait. So you're saying forget all the rumors in various newspapers. Dennis Erickson will be at Miami next year. And
the only thing that I would leave here for is to have Lee Corso's job.
Welcome back and Happy New Year if you're just joining us. You know, just one team can be true masters of its fate when it takes the field today. Miami will know what Washington has done. They'll know whether they must merely beat Nebraska or crush them. Have they focused too much on Washington, though, not enough on the Huskers this week? Now, this scenario is reversed from 8 years ago when the Huskers came in billed as the team of the century. Kozar and company pulled the shocker. But I think it's the most important college game of the decade. That signaled the start of the Miami dynasty. It laid the groundwork for the awakening of a slumbering giant, the dominance of Florida's Big 3 schools. Of course, that was 2 coaches ago at Miami. Tonight, Dennis Erickson can win his 2nd national title in his first 3 years at Miami. He's trying to be not just the caretaker of the dynasty, but caretaker and creator of a new code of behavior for the longtime bad boys. Still, no matter what Erickson does, the controversy won't go away, and neither will suspicions that Erickson himself will go away. He started at the top. Winning the national championship his first season at Miami immediately put Dennis Erickson in the spotlight, not only for winning, but also as the man in charge of a program that some think thrives on the bad guy image.
We just got to continue to try to change our people's perception of us. That doesn't happen overnight. It's been there for a long time, and it happens with people that have success. When you win all the time, people get tired of seeing you winning, and obviously they think, hey, something's wrong here. These guys can't do this all the time.
Just about everybody has given the Canes at least half of this year's national championship before they even step on the field with Nebraska. For many, the only question remaining is how big the margin of victory must be for the Canes to win both polls. Erickson doesn't share the critics' confidence.
We're going to have to play our best just to win the game, much less win it by a certain margin that everybody seems to think that we have to.
You think the battle for #1, the controversy, is that good for college football, or does it detract from it?
Well, it keeps everybody busy. I mean, what the heck? What would the newspapers write about in the slack period between the end of the season and the bowl game? I mean, they have to have something to write about.
Whether it's positive or negative, there's always something to write about Miami. Under Erickson, the Canes have lost just 3 games in 3 years, a 91% success rate. But it's the pressure to stay on top at Miami and Erickson's fierce intensity from within that set him apart.
The intensity's there, and we want to continue to win and do it the right way. Maybe that's why I'm even more intense, because I know we're doing it the right way right now.
You know, when you strap on the pads, you know, it's almost like he's a player out there. He's ready. He's almost more into the game than some of the players are.
I don't think there's a greater coach in college football today. He's done, his record here just stands for itself. 32-3 is phenomenal.
With the tremendous success Erickson has had at the collegiate level, he's been rumored for over a half dozen NFL head coaching jobs in the last couple of years, but has shown little interest. Some say he won't be able to resist this time, but Erickson feels his work is unfinished at Miami.
I'd like to take this thing into the 90s and have it be the most successful football program in the 90s. I also want to be around here when 90% of the country has a good perception of us.
Coaching at the college level gives him the opportunity to coach
him being involved with the quarterbacks and the whole offense. That's what's important to him as a coach. And I think maybe sometimes you might lose that maybe at the next level at the NFL.
The only thing that I would leave here for is to have Lee Corso's job. I'll be here next fall, there's no question about it.
But if not, we always have a seat for you, Coach. Now, we know Erickson's stomach is churning right now. He's as tense as any coach. He makes Corso look calm. For more on his task tonight in tonight's game, let's go back now to Steve Cyphers at the Orange Bowl.
Well, Chris, as we've said time and time again, tonight's game is all about the national championship as Miami goes after its fourth such title in 9 years. Certainly Washington hopes to have something to say about that, but the team with the loudest voice in the matter has hardly been heard. It's not that Nebraska has taken a vow of silence or anything like that. It just seems that a lot of people aren't giving the Cornhuskers a lot of attention.
Do you get more questions about Nebraska or Washington? Pretty much about Washington. For some reason, I don't know why.
Why? Because while the Canes fight the Huskies for #1, many say their game with the Huskers won't be a fight at all.
We got to have Nebraska beat Miami in the Orange Bowl, which is, you know, and call. I mean, there's like no way going to happen.
I'm sure in the backfield, a lot of guys might are a little angry and upset about the situation.
They've had to sit here in town for the last 3 weeks and listen to this Miami-Washington deal, and they're a hell of a football team.
Who cares what they say? They're not playing, you know. We're the ones that are playing, so we're the ones that got to believe we have a chance.
And believe it or not, they believe they do, despite the fact that Miami hasn't lost on its home field in 44 games, despite Miami's 4 consecutive bowl victories, and despite Nebraska's 4 consecutive bowl defeats.
We haven't really played Humpty Dumpties. I think the best way to improve your bowl record is start going to the Liberty Bowl and the Sun Bowl and those kind of bowls. You know, and people talk about your record. Well, you know, we've won some bowl games, but you have a heck of a lot better chance when you go to those kind of bowls.
Even with the results of the last 4 bowls, Osborne says he hasn't really changed the way Nebraska's prepared for this one, though they did arrive in Florida 2 days earlier than usual.
It has been different. We've taken a harder work ethic approach.
Off the field, you're not going out. Peak guys aren't going out as much. They're staying home. They're focused on the game. Practices are very intense.
The Hurricanes claim they've practiced well, too, that they're not worrying about Washington and not listening to the odds makers.
If you feel like we're going to win by 11 points and we shouldn't even come out and play against Nebraska, hey, you come down and play for us and see how tough you're going to be.
I'm confident. If we don't make mistakes and hurt ourselves, I have no doubt that we can beat Miami Hurricanes.
Okay, Chris, it's not exactly Joe Willie Namath, but that's pretty strong stuff from Johnny Mitchell, given the fact what all the experts are saying that it's not even going to be close. Johnny sounds pretty confident down here in Miami.
Johnny is always real confident, Steve. All right, thanks very much. Enjoy the ball game. Wish we could be down there with you. Steve tells us there is some rain. The drizzle has been off and on, and it's not going to really affect the field, though, Lee. It's not going to be that sloppy a track. Let's break it down now. Sure. It's going to be muscle versus quickness when Nebraska has the ball. That big line, 295 per man, #1 rushing offense against the #1 scoring defense in Miami.
Yeah, but Miami has one weakness. They're 25th in the nation against the rush, and that's what Nebraska does the best. And remember, watch for Miami to have a problem when Nebraska comes right at them and knocks those undersized linebackers down and runs the football. Here is a perfect picture of Keithan McCann automaticing to an open spot. Watch the right tackle, right guard, blocking the area. The fullback will block the linebacker, and number 21, Derek Brown, will get the ball in an ISO play and run directly at the Miami linebackers. Now, in this game against Colorado State, watch the effort on the line, but watch this. Boom! He'll run right over him and knock him down. But the good thing about Nebraska is when they get tired, they bring in their second-team tailback, number 44, Calvin Jones. Watch this. This is the second-team guy. And the thing I love about him, watch how fast those yard markers go. He can fly, and that's the second-team guy. And they got a third-team guy that they tell me is even better than those two. They're going to attack. Nebraska's going to go right at those Miami linebackers.
Yeah, but they're not playing Colorado State. They're not playing Kansas like they were there. The linebackers, I think, are quick enough to come up, support the run, cover Johnny Mitchell, the tight end. They're going to smother him, Lee.
No way. And I tell you what, not only that, they're going to go after him, and then Keithan McCann will throw the football behind the line of scrimmage into those linebackers. And that player you saw, Johnny Mitchell, he's going to be the star of the game.
I think a bigger concern for Nebraska, Miami's speed on offense, the quick strike attack. That could be the key since they're really missing a lot of their running game. Stephen McGuire hurt, Martin Patton suspended.
Great point. With those two guys gone, Miami's lost 52% of their offensive attack with the running attack. Now, Nebraska will counter by playing their pass differently than they've ever played it before. They're going to alternate defensive linemen, keep them in there fresh. They're going to deepen up their defensive backs at least 5 steps to keep that bomb from going over their head. I really think that people say that can't be done. Remember, against Florida State, the longest Miami pass was 20 yards, and they only scored 17 points.
Nebraska will try to make them be patient. Kevin Williams, though, will come out of the backfield, 4.28 speed. There's no Husker DB that runs faster than a 4.48.
Yes, but he's not going to get on the field as much. Watch for Nebraska to try to keep the ball at least 40 minutes, like Penn State kept the 38 minutes and almost beat them. I like Nebraska with a conservative, bang-em, ball control offense and a very soft, bomb-proof defense to upset Miami by 3 points.
Were you spiking those Shirley Temples last night?
Not in Bristol,
really picking Nebraska. Okay. All right, I don't agree. I do like Miami at home where they're so tough to beat. Now, what if Miami were playing not the Huskers, but the Huskies tonight? We asked the computer who would win, and we'll check the printout a little bit later on. And again, coming up at the bottom of the hour, the first football game of the new year, Jeff Blake and the Pirates of East Carolina take it on NC State following game day. A half-century ago on New Year's Day, the Mammoth Rose Bowl sat silent. The West Coast was gripped with fear of another Japanese air raid. But a continent away in Durham, North Carolina, college football's grandest game went on. Players from Oregon State and Duke had their destinies forever linked as foes in the only Rose Bowl not played in Pasadena, and then months later, comrades in a much bigger, much deadlier struggle.
A date which will live in infamy.
We were all arrogant young kids. We thought those Japs, we'll swat them down in a week or two. I don't think we even thought about the war, except that it took us away from the Rose Bowl.
Fearing Japanese Zeros might swarm the West Coast, the War Department banned all events attracting large crowds. Their trip to Pasadena canceled. Bitter Duke players were unenthused about playing the game on their home field.
Actually, because the war was on and most of our players felt like they were going to be called into service in June, and this was their last chance to go home, actually the first time we voted not to play.
Duke coach Wallace Wade convinced them to reverse that vote. And so on New Year's Day 42, 56,000 gathered. At that time, the South's largest football crowd ever. Extra bleachers had to be trucked in from Raleigh and Chapel Hill. Oregon State was about a 5-touchdown underdog, according to local papers. But the Beavers' contingent of 32 was still riding high from its 5-day cross-country train ride.
We all knew that we were going to end up in the service very soon, and so we're all giving us the last shot, so to speak. And we didn't come all the way back here just to play a ball game. We came back here to win.
Oregon State felt right at home in the cold, relentless rain. The underdogs grabbed a 14-7 third-quarter lead on Bob Defman's pass to George Zeller. But Duke instantly marched back for the tying touchdown, keyed by the running of All-American Steve Lapp. Less than a minute later, the drenched Dukies were stunned as State struck again. Defman went deep, with the Devils' defenders slipping in the mud. Gene Gray made the grab and galloped to the end zone. State held on for a 20-16 shocker, and then turned the train ride home into a marathon party.
I remember that, celebrating. In fact, we celebrated when we left Durham until we got to Corvallis.
The game was a bitter disappointment. It still is.
Elation and ejection were soon set aside. For many players, war became no longer just a front-page story, but a front-line fight for survival. In one of fate's strange twists, State's Frank Parker and Duke's Charlie Hayes became platoon leaders in the same battalion, fighting for the liberation of Italy. In October 44, in the bloody Battle of the Apennine Mountains, Hayes' life was saved by his former gridiron enemy.
I was wounded about 7 different places. Worst was in my chest. I could put both my hands in my chest, and I was drowning on blood. A shot in the shoulder, down here in the leg, and in my arm. And Frank was in reserve, and somebody got word to him that I'd been wounded, and he came up on the mountain, found me, and drug me down to the aid station, and that saved my life.
You were there bleeding real bad.
Yeah.
So the thing you do is to move you back. We moved you back behind the hill, and then later on we got a stretcher. And that's how you got on down to the aid station.
Yeah.
Parker and Hayes had not seen each other in 46 years until Rose Bowl reunions in Corvallis and Durham this fall.
And I couldn't believe my eyes when I seen you there. You can see that you're still walking around.
As foes turned friends revisited the scene of the 42 game, a rematch was proposed before discretion intervened.
We just got along great, and we loved him.
In another bit of irony, Wallace Wade was at the Battle of the Bulge. He stumbled into a canteen he hadn't eaten for 2 days, and he was served food by Stan Czech, the former Oregon State player. It's amazing how the fates became intertwined after that memorable game. Prothro, of course, went on to coach at Oregon State. All right, up next, some high-tech answers to the national championship question, who is really #1? Miami and Washington square off computer style. I'll tell you who chipped away for the victory. Sorry about that when we come back. Only in college football are titles won the old-fashioned way, in the polls. Now, we've debated Miami versus Washington all year. Miami and Washington cannot play in a football field, will not meet on a cornfield in Iowa, as one hurricane suggested, but they did meet on a silicon field in Tennessee. Lance Hafner played 91's dream game on his computer. Here's how it unfolded. The Huskies take the opening kickoff, 91 yards. Billy Joe Hobert to Mario Bailey for 15 yards. The extra point missed, 6-zip Huskies. Huskies strike again. Eugene Harris. How did the computer even know about him? He's a third stringer. He scores, caps off a drive, 2-pointer fails, 12-zip Huskies. Early second quarter. Miami gets on the board. Larry Jones filling in for McGuire, 6 yards out. They make the point, still 12-7 Washington. The Hurricanes, again, following an interception of Hobert. Carlos Huerta boots the field goal. They cut the Washington lead to 12-10. 3 seconds left in the first half. Travis Hansen boots one from 52 yards. It's 15-10 Huskies at halftime. Second half, Hobert, 7 yards to Mario Bailey. His second touchdown catch caps an 80-yard drive. The extra point is good, 22-10 Huskies. Late fourth quarter. Back on the Hurricanes, Larry Jones, a 2-yard touchdown run, caps off a 77-yard drive. The extra point is good, but Washington holds on in the computer land, wins it 22-17. They stuff Miami's running game, only 55 yards. They sack Toretta 5 times, and they contain Kevin Williams.
Now you know why I've been picking Washington all the year. I did this on my home computer. Same results.
Well, Lee, the computer cannot measure the heart of the Miami player. No computer can know that. All right, now that's not a perfect situation. Obviously, to play things on a computer, it could work out better in a perfect world, which we don't have, of course.
Well, you know, the one thing I think we should do is to take a look at having the first step of this is having a national championship game. One game, not a playoff. Have it at a neutral site, someplace nice and warm and beautiful. Maybe like Orlando, where I live. Have the NCAA negotiate the TV contract, have the NCAA do the game, have the NCAA pick the teams, and then give the money to whatever they want to do. I think that's step one, and I think we might see that someday.
Pre-game party at Corso's house. That's only step one, though. We need an 8-team playoff. The championship game would not settle things this year, for example, if Michigan or Florida were involved in a controversy. All right, we're just minutes away from the Peach Bowl. East Carolina, NC State. They get the bowling started in Atlanta. Just minutes away. We'll throw it down there as we start football 92. Lee, what do you look for today?
Okay, Florida State's defense stops the A&M team. Noles win by 7 points. Fiesta Bowl, Penn State intercepts 7 passes, or 5 passes, wins by 10. In the Citrus Bowl, California bombs Clemson.
You've been perfect so far this year. Tim Brando joins Lee and Craig James at halftime. Enjoy the Peach Bowl next. And once again, Happy New Year.
The following is an ESPN special presentation.
Welcome to Atlanta, Georgia, 1992, this January the 1st. You know, at Times Square in New York, the giant white ball comes down to signify the beginning of the new year. Well, last night in downtown Atlanta, the giant peach came down, and that means the signaling of 1992. This is the earliest sellout in the history of the Peach Bowl, and why not? You got 10-1 East Carolina against 9-2 North Carolina State. You know, historically, the Peach Bowl has had some of the best finishes of all the bowl games. Witness last year, as for the last 5 years, the winning team has gotten the score in the last minute. Stan White and Auburn coming from behind to win over Indiana, that in 1990. Well, this afternoon, it's the Pirates of East Carolina. And you might be saying, well, who are they? Well, ask the guys at Syracuse. They went to the Carrier Dome, and they knocked them off there. They also won over Pittsburgh late in the season. And for North Carolina State, steady as usual, 9-2, tying for second in the ACC. But if you want to know the truth about the whole matter, it'd probably rather be in somebody's backyard up in Carolina, because this is for supremacy of that state. Roll up the sleeves and just get it on. They don't care for each other.
We were thrilled to have an opportunity to play here in this bowl game. And then when the matchup came down, in our opinion, it couldn't have been better.
I think it's great for college football to have that kind of interest, and it's a game that, you know, it should be played.
Oh, there's never been any love lost between East Carolina and NC State.
I just don't think the teams like each other, and it's going to be a big ball game.
I think that they're not giving us the respect that, you know, we deserve, but that's something we have to earn.
We've always been better than them, you know, in football. And everybody's expecting us to win.
We've been trying to play North Carolina teams for a long time, and no North Carolina teams will play us.
We beat all the other teams in the state. A win means that we are the best football team in the state.
We're going to play like there's nobody there. We're just going to play hard, nose football.
You've got to beat us on the field to prove to me and to my teammates you're a better football team.
Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome back to Atlanta, Georgia. Mike Gottfried is with us as usual on the telecast. He's down in the locker room, and let's go to him to get a further perspective on these two clubs.
Thanks, Ron. We should have a great ball game today, and both coaching staff strategy should be very simple. Let's take East Carolina on offense first. East Carolina has been a big play offensive football team. 36 plays of over 25 yards. Jeff Blake has thrown 10 touchdown passes over 25 yards. Look for him today to try to go to number 27, Deion Johnson, his big play receiver. On the other side of the ball, North Carolina State on defense has not allowed big plays. Only 3 touchdowns have been given up over 25 yards. Something has to give. Now, let's take North Carolina State on offense. Game plan simple. Run the football right at the smaller defensive front of East Carolina. Give the ball to the tailback, Anthony Barber. Greg Maynor, the big fullback, run the ball at them. East Carolina on defense must move around, try to hide the smaller defensive front. Now, special teams could be a big factor. If you've watched the bowl games to date, special teams block kicks, extra points and field goal miss, punt returns for touchdown have been big factors because of the layoff that teams have had preparing for the bowl. Could be a factor today. Let's go out in the field to Adrian Karsten.
Well, Mike, when you put your heart in it, it can take you anywhere. That's the line that East Carolina has lived by. No other team in major college football has ever gone from losing more than half their games to within a touchdown of an undefeated season in just 2 years' time. To be ranked number 12 in the country, to play your first bowl game in 13 years, to put on the purple jerseys against a team that you've waited 5 years to beat. That's college football's Cinderella story. But for the ECU fans, the glass slipper will not fit without a win over the Wolfpack. To their sidelines now we go, and Dr. Terry Funch.
Thank you very much, Adrian. You know, while it's true many of NC State's fifth-year seniors are playing in their 4th postseason bowl game, they have never played East Carolina. But all during their 4 years of college, they've been constantly reminded by the media that this game would not happen. However, it's been left up to the sports writers whether this game will actually be played or not. But today it will be played and decided right here on the football field. And believe me, the Wolfpack fans and the players can't wait.
And right now, let's meet the Pirates, 10-1 of East Carolina. ESPN's presentation of the 1992 Peach Bowl is brought to you by Thrifty Car Rental. For worldwide reservations, call 1-800-FOR-CARS or your travel consultant. And by Korbel Champagne. We have so much to celebrate. Korbel Champagne. Well, you're about to see the final game, the final football game in Fulton County Stadium, because next year we move indoors to the new Georgia Dome. Here's the series history. NC State leading 12-6. The last 6 years that they have played, all even at 3 apiece. All games have been played in Raleigh. No future games scheduled, and the average margin of win almost 18. And Mike, as East Carolina is going to receive the ball, NC State won the toss and they have deferred. It's a big thing for the Pirates. This first time they've ever been able to wear the home jerseys in this game.
Ron, the emotional level will be with East Carolina early because it's their first bowl game. North Carolina State's been here before. They need to absorb the first blow.
Faubles kickoff will go out of bounds and a 5-yard penalty. So all the excitement, all the anticipation, and all it takes is one kicker to kick it out of bounds, and we got to go back and deflate for just a moment. Coach Bill Lewis, first bowl game as the head coach. 6-4 and 2 as an assistant coach in bowl games for Bill. The officials in today's ball game. John Laurie is the referee, and the crew is from the Big 8 as you look at Dick Sheridan and his winning percentage.
Ron, they're going to take the ball at the 35-yard line, their option, and start their offense this time.
So we'll get a chance to see Jeff Blake. We've talked a lot about him. Let's see what North Carolina State can do to put a grasp on him. Going to throw on first down. Zips it incomplete at the 46-yard line. And let's meet the Pirates on offense. The quarterback, Jeff Blake. Senior from Sanford, Florida. 32 school records to his credit. Now, the wide receivers, he likes them all, but particularly number 27, Dion Johnson, Newport News, Virginia. And up front, they like to run behind this one, Tom Scott, and why not? 6'7", 338 pounds. Tommy is a junior. Movement first by North Carolina State. Then East Carolina came out of their stance, and it's going to cost them.
Dead ball. Offense. Repeat, second down. As I said earlier, Ron, one of the advantages NC State, I think they have in this ball game is the fact that they've been in 4 bowl games if you're a fifth-year senior. This is East Carolina's first bowl game. They're a little anxious, and they just need to settle down.
Every man in this NC State club has been to at least one. Some have been, this is their 4th. And as the point is well made, the fact that East Carolina, none of their fellows have been to one bowl game. Daniels, the lone setback. Hit from behind. Blake will be knocked down for a loss, and it's Mark Thomas who gets there. That's a loss of 7, and let's meet the NC State defense. The nose guard is Logo. Now, he is injured, but they were starting him in the game. Look for Billy Ray Haynes, number 50 at the linebacker position. Over 10 tackles a game is what he averages. And in the secondary, it's a good one, but led by Sebastian Savage. First team All-Atlantic Coast Conference. 5 interceptions for him.
Third down receiver they like is Luke Fisher, number 91.
Shotgun formation. Blake still retreating, and he puts it up long. Down at the 22-yard line, looking for Dion Johnson, and he threw into the middle double coverage.
It's a good defensive series for North Carolina State. They were able to bring 2 extra defensive backs in on third down to stop East Carolina. Jeff Blake's going to have to get comfortable with this surface. This is a baseball field. It's a flat surface. There's no crown in the middle of the football field. He's going to have to get comfortable throwing the football on this field.
Liddell George, the return man. 28 his longest, just over 8 yards per return on the punts. John Jett, you saw the numbers on him just a moment ago. He is kicking not with the advantage of the wind, Mike, as NC State with a 9-man rush at the line of scrimmage. And he drives it. Now you see the wind pushing it. George at the 27. On offense for North Carolina State, Terry Jordan, he's back after being injured. He took them to a 4-0 record, then broke his left arm. The receivers, Charles Davenport, all everything for the Wolfpack. 33 receptions for over 500 yards. And up front, Scott Adell, the best of the offensive linemen, 6'5", 284 pounds. Pitch on the delay. Barber will have 9, almost 10 yards in the play as he is bumped out of bounds at the 41-yard line. Defensively for East Carolina, up front, very active, but as Mike said, not very large. Gardell, what a fighter he is, their emotional leader. The linebackers, well, Robert Jones on everybody's All-American list. You'll hear number 44's name called a great deal today. And in the secondary, number 40, Chris Hall, he is their best cover guy. Second down and short, and they go straight ahead with the big fullback. And the point is, this is just what you were talking about. Greg Maynard, who is 6'2", 241 yards. And the one thing that East Carolina hopes that they don't try to do is just lined up and pound away at them.
Well, you watch, Ron, you watch East Carolina. They're moving on defense just before the snap of the ball. The offensive linemen know their blocking scheme. They come up, they see the defense in a certain position, and all of a sudden they move. They're trying to confuse the offensive line in North Carolina State.
Chris Williams is coming to the backfield for the Wolfpack, number 30. Swings the pass out to George, and he will be nailed at the 46-yard line by Robert Jones.
The other thing you have to look in bowl games is when you get your injured players back. Teams are different now than they were in the regular season. North Carolina State gets their quarterback, Terry Jordan, number 17, back. He's their emotional leader. I talked to Michael O'Kane, the quarterback coach. He said he brings them a little bit better arm strength and more experience at the quarterback position.
Maynard comes back in along with Anthony Barber as the I formation for the Wolfpack on second down. Straight ahead with the big fullback, bounces off one tackle. He will cross midfield, and that's Jerry Dillon, who is holding on for dear life, and there is a flag down. That is back at the line of scrimmage on the far side of the field.
Appears like it's offsides on East Carolina.
Second penalty already against the Pirates, both minor penalties, but also emotional penalties are things of emotion, probably.
I'm going to go back again, and I talk about when you're in your bowl game for the first time, it's not just exactly how you handle the game, it's how you handle the preparation getting to the game. You know, the 6 days, 7 days they've been here, all the press conferences and everything. And early in the ball game, when you haven't been here before, you have a tendency to want to sell out and the adrenaline's flowing. East Carolina just has to channel that.
With the 5-yard penalty, it's now second down and about 3. Couple of yards. Anthony Barber, Jerry Dillon again, the junior out of Lake Placid, Florida, comes over to make the stop. And from where they have marked the ball, NC State will not have the first down. It will be third down, and they need the ball just inside the 45.
Another key point for East Carolina on defense, they're going to play a lot of defensive linemen. They're going to roll in 2 and 3 different people at the defensive line positions to try to keep them fresh.
On the third and short, flags go down as the pitch goes back to Barber, breaks it for 5, now 10, and East Carolina was offsides again. And the cadence by Jordan, plus the anticipation, and the Pirates are hurting themselves, plus the fact they didn't make the stop after a 12-yard gain.
Well, the option, East Carolina expects North Carolina State to pound right at them, and the option has really affected
offside. Defense.
Zach Kumalai is the man who jumped offside, the nose guard.
See the anticipation on defense. Jumped offside, middle guard. Watch the man right over the center. Kumalai just jumps a little bit too soon. Wanted to get penetration on that short yardage down.
Barber now 3 carries for 26 yards. Pitch comes to Barber to the near side. Gets by 1 tackle. Inside the 30, a flag comes down. Either that or somebody's yellow armband got yanked off, and we saw that go through the air, Mike.
Maybe those yellow shoes. Good run by Barber. North Carolina State getting the ball outside early. What now they're trying to do is start by working outside, then try to get the ball to Maynor inside. Pretty good drive by North Carolina State to this point.
Barber ran into his own man and then is going to be pushed back. Robert Jones, number 44, was the first man there to make the stick on him.
Robert Jones just met the fullback, Greg Maynor. Did a nice job on that of stopping the isolation play up inside. Watch Robert Jones, 44, step up, taking the block of the fullback, just pushed him right back into Anthony Barber.
You heard me say that he ran into his own man. There you could see why he ran into his own man as Jones sent him back the other direction.
Linebacker has to step up there and meet that fullback on the isolation play.
Pitch goes to Cotton. Turns the corner, caught for the ankle, and I don't know. Very, very close. It's Robert Jones who was holding on to his ankle. Also, Jerry Dillon down at the bottom of the pile. And from where they put it down, what do you think? Mike, you got a better angle than I do. Does he have it?
It's very close. I guess I think North Carolina State got the benefit of a pretty decent spot there, but I don't know if he still has made the first down. But Robert Jones, the All-American linebacker, did a great job of scraping outside, and taking on the tackle and making the play.
First down for the Wolfpack. And let's go down to Adrian Karsten. The first update from him. Adrian.
Well, Ron, with the early emotion anxiety we see, especially from the East Carolina side, consider something I think we can safely call the Carolina conflict. Take a look at the map. 94 miles separates these towns. They've decided now that because they're that close, within close to 100 miles, they've decided to come here and settle inside of 100 yards.
With first down, Jordan hollers to his wide receivers in his back. He goes with Maynor, and the big fullback will have 4, now 5. And that's exactly what Mike Gottfried was talking about. If NC State wants to pound, they have the equipment, as Jones is there to make the hit. But when you look at the two guards who are 282 and 292, and you got a fullback close to 250, that's really formidable against a smaller defensive front.
Has to be the strategy. Plus, you have to remember the quarterback, Terry Jordan, is the veteran quarterback. He's the junior. They haven't had him since the 4th game. He does a lot of reading at the line of scrimmage and plays calls away from the defense.
Jordan again with an audible, I would think. Movement, contact at the line of scrimmage. The average difference in the size of the lines, 277 on the Wolfpack side of the line, and on the defensive front, 236 is the average for the front 5. And they are pointing toward East Carolina. Mike again.
Offside. Defense, 5-yard penalty.
Only 3 of them have been taken, but on this one drive, that's 4 times they've jumped offside.
One of the concerns you have as a coach when you bring your club to a bowl game is the layoff. And Billy Lewis told us the other day, had a lot of penalties early in the season, but then they got away from it. They had momentum, and all of a sudden they had to break. And it looks like the layoff has hurt East Carolina a little bit, just jumping offside.
What do you do to calm them down now?
Well, I think you just got to get them on the sidelines, and as I say, just tell them it's a 4-quarter football game.
Barber behind the blocking of his fullback, inside the 5, and he's down to the 3. Jerry Dillon defensively.
This isn't a good sign for East Carolina because they're having a tough time stopping them inside. The pitch and the option have been able to go outside. And I think the key to this is Terry Jordan. Terry Jordan is going away from the nose man. Kumalai, number 50, wherever he moves, he's able to make the call and go away from him. And the experience of the return of Terry Jordan is helping NC State.
Second down. NC State can pick up a first down without scoring the touchdown. Hit hard at the line of scrimmage is Downs. He will have maybe a half on the play, and that's about it. Jones, one of the first men, along with Grandison, who comes up from his free safety position to make the tackle.
Watch the penetration of the defensive line. You see the penetration across the line of scrimmage. They beat the offensive line in North Carolina State, allowed Greg Grandison, number 5, to make the tackle. Now, in the past, North Carolina State has liked the over-the-top play, but they've had success going outside. Not so sure they won't run an option or a toss sweep.
12th play of the drive. Over the top, touchdown, North Carolina State.
about going over the top. I've watched film of them. They like when they get on the 1-yard line, 1.5-yard line, to use that jet play to take the tailback, to take him over the top, and they were successful.
Hartman to attempt the extra point as the Wolfpack tries to go up to an early 7-0 lead. He's got it. So North Carolina State, on their opening drive, takes it the distance. ESPN's presentation of the 1992 Peach Bowl is brought to you by Isuzu. For features, styling, and price, there's no comparison. And by Red Lobster, for the seafood lover in you. Well, the red and white of North Carolina State, very impressive on their opening drive as they took it right down the field, aided by some penalties, which actually they didn't need, Mike.
Ron, they've had 6 games where they've gained over 200 yards rushing, and the closer they get to 200 yards today, they'll win this football game. East Carolina has to stop them, but on the other side, don't count Jeff Blake out at any time because, as I said, 36 plays of over 25 yards this year. They're a big play offensive football team.
So what you're saying is East Carolina, for those that are not familiar with them, they are accustomed to playing from behind.
They can play from behind. They can strike fast. Jeff Blake's like Doug Flutie in the Cotton Bowl the year when he had 6 pass receptions in the first half. 4 were for touchdowns. It's the same kind of way Jeff Blake can strike quickly.
Kick is going to come down to Dion Johnson at the 8. All the way out to the 42, now the 43-yard line. 36 on the return. Let's take one more look at the touchdown, Mike, up and over the top.
Well, you want your tailback to get behind the line of scrimmage and go over the top, just leap over. A good block by the fullback. May have started a little too early in the backfield.
I didn't notice that at the time, but I think you're right. I think he was moving a little bit before the ball was snapped. 6:09 on the drive. Van Buren is the lone setback for the Pirates. Quick out pass. Did you see the arm on the youngster as he zips it out there to Johnson? It'll be a gain of about 5 on the play as Reed and Sebastian Savage have the cover for North Carolina State.
Average plays a game for East Carolina during the season. They've had 72 plays. The closer they get to 72 plays, the better chance of the game. But they need the big play. Dion Johnson's the guy to give it to them, number 27.
This time Daniels is the setback. Gets the handoff, goes left side. And for the first time today, East Carolina is on the Wolfpack side of the 50. That's David Merritt, the junior out of Raleigh, who comes up to make the stick on him.
Ron, football is an easy game. It's an easy game to coach, easy game to play, easy game to watch. And when you run the football well, you have a chance to win. North Carolina State on defense against Billy Lewis's team has to take away one dimension. They have to take away the running game. East Carolina's only averaged 129 on the run. If they can have some success running the football, chances are they'll have success throwing the football.
You see on the 3rd and short, the 2 tight ends, puts it on his hip, throws the pass complete to his tight end. That's Fisher inside the 30 to the 29. 19 yards, and it is that kind of gambling spirit that brought the Pirates to a 10-1 record this year.
It's interesting. Luke Fisher, the tight end for East Carolina, has caught 35 passes during the regular season. 33 of them have been for first down, so he's the 3rd down receiver they like to go to. He just blocked, delayed, shot to the flat. Good pass by Jeff Blake.
Blake under pressure, gets by 1. Now he's going to run it. 25 and is neck-tied, and here comes the flag down. Ooh, that was a shot. I have a feeling that's not going to be the 5-yard variety, Mike. That'll be 15.
See, here's the extra dimension that Jeff Blake gives you. He's an accurate passer, but he has the ability to scramble.
Face mask, 5 yards.
Here comes the pressure from the backside. He avoids the tackle, now takes off, picks up good yardage, and then the penalty will be tacked on.
I think NC State is extremely fortunate not to have had a 15-yard penalty on that.
And I agree with you. Jeff Blake is just such an exciting player, quarterback.
7-0. North Carolina State on top. 5 minutes and 55 seconds left in what has been a very hurried opening quarter here from Atlanta's Fulton County Stadium. Johnson comes in motion. They use him to crack with the block. Pass is caught by the tight end Fisher again. Mike Reed wrestled him down. Good for 13 yards.
Luke Fisher, 6'3", 237-pound senior, just curled over the middle. Jeff Blake had the option to throw the ball to his back out of the backfield, who was wide open, but he looked and saw Luke Fisher open over the middle for a big gain.
Play action, wide open in the end zone. 7-6 our score as Van Buren just sneaked out. Nobody picked him up.
Jeff Blake made that play, Ron, with the best fake that he could make. They lined up in a triple I. You thought that they were down on the 3-yard line. They'd run it on first down. Good call by Billy Lewis and the East Carolina coaching staff. Good fake. Van Buren out in the flat for the touchdown.
Anthony Brenner to attempt the extra point to try to tie us up. Gets a good pass. Kick is up, and we are tied. Well, I don't know what kind of batteries they're running on, but ECU does just keep going and going. They've come right back and tied up this ball game at 7 apiece. 6 plays, 57 yards, and also give a world of credit to that 36-yard kick return by Johnson, which set things going for them and gave them decent field position. So I think we have demonstrated here that both of these offenses, they may do it a little differently, but both can make the other defense go back and take a long look at the chalkboard after their sequence.
That's very important for East Carolina to answer the call. The defense gave up some yardage in the running game, which they were concerned about, but they went right back down the field, answered their call, and made it a 7-7 ball game.
Brenner will kick it off for East Carolina. Barber and Lawrence are the 2 deep men. And it's going to be taken by one of the upbacks at the 45, and I believe it's Downs. All the way out to the 35-yard line. Well, that's Cooper, number 48, rather than 45.
Let's look at this touchdown. Now, the tight end's going to go inside. The fullback, number 33, is going to go into the flat. Watch number 20, the corner, take the fake of Jeff Blake, the quarterback, standing still. Van Buren gets behind Dwayne Washington. Linebackers also trying to pick him up. Wide open in the corner of the end zone for the touchdown.
Jordan, play action, wants to throw, zings it, complete. Davenport, almost at the 50-yard line, and that's good for 13 yards.
Terry Jordan with a good play fake of his own, and then throwing the ball to Charles Davenport, the 6'4", 208-pound senior receiver. He was a quarterback, Ron, in 1988. Gained 124 yards against us as an option quarterback, throwing the football. And I liked him back then, and I think he's made a good transition to wide receiver. So he can throw the football.
Mike, also look at field position for North Carolina State. Second time after that 13-yard pass play. They have not had to scrimmage with anything close to poor position, have they?
They have been able to get good field position against special teams, enabled them with a good return by Downs.
7-7 our count. Clock shows 4 minutes and 38 seconds left to play in this opening quarter. The 1992 Peach Bowl. Next year will be played on January the 2nd in prime time that has already been announced, and it will be indoors at the new Georgia Dome, which is being completed right now.
Whenever North Carolina State breaks their I formation, they like to throw the football or draw.
Flags go down, and East Carolina appears to be offsides again as Aubrey Shaw made the reception. Now the play's been whistled down. Let's see if they were drawn offside this time. So that's the reason they stopped the play. If the defense makes contact, you also can stop it. But here it was illegal procedure.
Puts North Carolina in a long yardage situation, something they haven't had today. Second and long for North Carolina State.
Williams and George, the splitbacks this time, at second down and long. Jordan tries to set the screen, puts it up in the air, and I'll tell you what, if one of the offensive linemen had not played defensive back and tackling the linebacker, Ken Burnett might have come up and taken that for 6 points. And let's go down to Dr. Jerry Punch.
Guys, just a reminder, quarterback Terry Jordan broke both bones, both the ulnar radius in his left forearm in the 4th game of the year, just about down at the wrist. Now, he had an external fixation cage, basically wires and screws into that arm for almost 2 months. Now, he is back playing, but the big concern for the Wolfpack offense, will he be able to pitch the ball with his left hand on the option to the left? He has pitched the ball only once in that first long drive this afternoon.
Oh, they're 3 of 3 on third down conversions, but they're not going to convert this one as Greg Gardell comes across and knocks him down for the loss. And for the first time today, we'll see the punting unit for North Carolina State.
Greg Gardell is one of those tough defensive linemen, undersized, 6'2", 244 pounds. He comes off the block. Jordan starts to run. He makes the plays from Johnstown, Pennsylvania. Just a tough, heady football player.
Mr. Kilpatrick, his numbers, 39.4, his longest 52, and he should be aided by the wind just a bit. Deion Johnson is the deep man. And a high pass, they're coming after him, and he does a great job to get it away. And is going to be taken by Crumpler, the tight end. Crumpler ran along and picked up the ball at the 40-yard line. What an outstanding job of getting the punt away, and let's take another look at it. Kilpatrick, like this, is well over his head.
Great job by Tom Kilpatrick. He has enough presence of mind to know just to move to his right a little bit and kick the football. Saved North Carolina State.
So let's take a break. We're tied at 7. Happy New Year, everybody, from Atlanta, Georgia. East Carolina comes back on offense, and the numbers on Blake, 4 of 6 for 42 yards. And that last drive, in fact, Mike, he was perfect. 4 of 4 for 42 yards.
He's got rhythm now. I tell you, he's in step.
Quick pitch. Johnson fumbles the football, still loose, and will be recovered by Blake. Oh, my goodness. North Carolina State came close to picking up the first huge break of this ball game.
Brought Deion Johnson in the backfield, East Carolina, number 27. He's a wide receiver, but he has speed, and they try to get the ball to him outside. Looked like he tried to run before he could have the football. Jeff Blake, widely alert, picks up the football. Here's a second look. There's the dead pitch. It just hits off his inside shoulder pad. He just didn't look it in. Then takes a real hit from Mark Thomas.
Blake zings it. Incomplete at the 39. Obscured by his teammates on the sideline, and we had to wait for a moment for the call. And now it's going to be third down, and the line to make is all the way out to midfield.
Well, they're capable with this big play offense, but you know, they had great field position on the 40-yard line. Now they're back inside their own 30. Billy Lewis likes Deion Johnson in these kind of situations. Speed receiver down the field. He has got it.
And that will be enough for the first down +5. Gallimore, I don't believe it, 33 yards.
When you decide to rush the passer, you have to do different. You have to either send some linebackers or get a rush out of a 4-man front. North Carolina State is trying to get a rush out of 3 defensive linemen. That is why Jeff Blake had so long. Look at the pass protection here because there's only 3 people rushing the quarterback. He had time to wait for Hunter Gallimore to get by the sticks for the first down.
Johnson in motion as they roll the pocket. Intercepted by NC State at Savage. Cuts across field and will be stopped at the 45-yard line.
Ron,
Jeff Blake makes the stop.
Ron, both these teams are opportunistic football teams, and they make turnovers happen. Sebastian Savage, that ball just wasn't thrown very well by Jeff Blake, but Sebastian Savage made a mistake here after the interception. Ball's thrown to him. He should have stayed on this sideline because once he misses, that block's missed. All his defensive players are on the other side. He's all by himself on the other side. So he made a mistake not staying into the boundary, but turns the ball over back to North Carolina State.
Interception number 6 for him this year. First team all ACC. Here comes Jordan on the keep. Gets one block, and boy, he gets a real shot at the 48 from Dilton Cotton.
See, that looked like a busted play. I know it's the freeze option, but it looked like Anthony Barber, number 24, didn't even come out with him. He didn't have a pitch man.
You look and see that guy's not there, and he still wound up with 7 on the play.
It's a key stat right there, rushing yards. I still believe East Carolina's going to get some kind of rushing game going. North Carolina State keeps piling up the yards. It's in their favor to win this football game.
Straight ahead, and you could see the feet go right out from under Greg Maynard as old Gremlin, the turf Gremlin, reached up and grabbed him.
Well, Robert Jones, the All-American linebacker, is really active in the middle. Seems like he's played forever at East Carolina. Just 6'3", 234-pound senior. Very good against the run. Drops well in the pass. I'm sure the pro people have their eye on him.
Third down, about 1.5 yards. The line to make is the 44. Down, has 5, has 10, cut it off at 15 yards.
North Carolina State's able to alternate tailbacks, Anthony Barber and Gary Downs. They're going to bring Gary Downs here and just watch the hole that opens here. Looks like a pass action. Good block by Maynard, and then the cutback by number 45, Greg Downs. Gary Downs, he was able to go to the backside and pick up his yardage.
Scott Jones with one of the key blocks, number 79, the big sophomore from Conover. Tied at 7, our score. Going to be the last play of this opening quarter as they go with Barber. Has the speed to get outside, and he'll be bumped out just inside the 20-yard line. And with that, the first quarter has come to an end. So let's take a break. East Carolina 7 and North Carolina State 7. North Carolina State scored first. An extremely impressive opening drive in the ball game. Then East Carolina came back the second time they had the football and put 7 on the board, and that's how we stand as we open the second quarter.
Looks like they're setting something up to go into the short side of the field here.
Barber will take it for a couple. And Anthony, who is not very big at 5'9", 175, inside, once somebody grabs a hold of a jersey, he's just about done.
What happens a lot of times in a game plan is East Carolina plays a 4-deep secondary, and their strong safety, Fred Walker. Even if North Carolina State puts the formation into the short side of the field, which they just did on that play, they will not, East Carolina will not bring the strong safety into the short side of the field. So in essence, when you put an extra man and extra tight end to that side, you have the advantage. And I look for North Carolina State to work into the short side of the field a lot against East Carolina today. Then if they start to hurt you, East Carolina has to do something with their defensive line, move them over a little bit to compensate for the strong safety being to the field.
So far in this ball game, the offenses have been well ahead of the defenses.
Well, timing. Again, when you prepare for a bowl, it's a choppy time because you take some times off. Here's again the average yards per rush. North Carolina State leading.
That also is accentuated by that huge loss on the fumble play a while ago, as East Carolina hasn't run the ball as much or attempted it as much as NC State. The pitch to Downs. He will be inside the 5. 14 yards in the running play.
Now, you had to like that play call if you're North Carolina State, because 3rd and short yardage, and they faked the ball up to Greg Maynard, the 241-pound fullback, and then ran the option, and it was just a quick pitch. It wasn't really an option. It was a pitch to get the ball outside to Gary Downs, number 45. Could have been a check off at the line of scrimmage by Terry Jordan.
Downs now 4 carries for 45. Barber 7 for 44. Jordan throws it back, caught with the tight end for the touchdown, Harrison.
On another good play call by North Carolina State, but Ken Burnett, the linebacker, number 54 from East Carolina, was there. He just couldn't make the play. Ball thrown too well by Terry Jordan to Todd Harrison, number 84.
Got to be impressed with Jordan. He may have missed everything after the first 4 games, but he doesn't look very rusty, does he?
No, he's back, and his timing is, I mean, everything's on for him so far in this ball game.
Damon Hartman puts his team up by 7.
Watch the good fake by Terry Jordan. Now the tight end comes across the formation. There's the throw. Look at number 54, Ken Burnett, just a little bit to the inside. And look at the feet of Todd Harrison, number 84, being able to go inside the pylon. Here's the fake. Watch 54. He has the tight end. Can't catch up to him. Watch Harrison after he makes the catch. Get in that end zone. Terry Jordan, a happy quarterback.
So the first turnover of the ball game results in a touchdown for the other team, so we'll put an asterisk by that. I had thought for a moment that one of the plays that you had to put a star by was that on 3rd down and 28 when East Carolina converted it, but they throw the interception. NC State, very opportunistic, as you said, and very good about that, and they push it in the end zone.
Ron, they're both teams that are opportunistic. Both are tied 4th in the NCAA giveaways takeaway. And you have to be able to take that advantage that you have right there. Look at the year North Carolina State's at. Go ahead, Ron.
21st of the AP poll, 5th time in school history to win 9+ regular season games. And it would be a school record if they win here today. Foul to kick it off for the Wolfpack. Johnson, 1 yard deep. Well, here's a capsule of East Carolina and the season that they have had. 10-1, 12th in the AP poll. First bowl since '78. They broke 100 school records. Their quarterback, Blake, broke 32 alone. And remember this, the last game that they lost was the first game they played this year up at Champaign-Urbana against Illinois. And Illinois, at the end of the game, there was controversy at the end of that one, and the Illini won it. Sweep will come out to the 26-yard line as Van Buren tried to get something going. Maybe a gain of 3 on the play. That's about it. David Merritt defensively.
Ron, I know you've been impressed with this also, the crowd that East Carolina has behind them. I'm telling you, for people who aren't here, this is a heavy East Carolina crowd that's followed this football team. They have support. Got a great AD in Dave Hart, and that program's on the rise. They need a league.
Blake sets incomplete. He wanted Fisher's tight end. Couldn't get it to him at the 30-yard line. It was Mark Thomas, who's had a very good ball game early on, applying pressure on the quarterback.
I don't want to go back to that league. They need to be in a league. They either need to go in a league with Tulsa and Southern Mississippi and Louisville, the teams that are independents right now, or the NCAA should step in and say, hey, ACC, you take East Carolina, SEC, you take Louisville, Big Ten, you take Cincinnati, but get these teams that don't have a league affiliation in football into some league.
Third down, the line to make just shy of the 33. Swings this one out to Daniels, and that is a great open field hit by Mike Reed. Reed just came up just after he made the reception, locked onto him, and knocks him down for a loss.
Ron, North Carolina State's a big zone team, and what you do in zone is you drop back in your area, and then you break on the ball and make the tackle, and that's exactly what you said Mike Reed was able to accomplish on that play. Sat in his zone, was able to make the play.
John Jett, he will be kicking away to the Liddell George, who's dropped very deep back to the 35. And a good thing he did. A little bit of an 80 win here. George backs up all the way to the 30. And he'll have about 10 yards on the return. So let's take a break. 12:34 remaining until halftime. 14-7. ESPN's presentation of the 1992 Peach Bowl is brought to you by Isuzu. For features, styling, and price, there's no comparison. And by United. Come fly the airline that's uniting the world. Come fly the friendly skies. Well, one of the Pirate backers, I hope.
Either that or little hair of the dog from last evening.
Straight ahead with the big fullback. Maynard takes it for 3, maybe 4 yards as Kumalai, the junior out of North Farmington, Michigan, comes over to make the stop.
A key for North Carolina State in this ball game is to get number 86 right here, Jerry Dillon, out where you only have 6 people in the box. If they have 6 people in the box, they're going to run the football. And that's what they're able to do with this formation of going to a slot. They're pulling Dillon out. Now he's inside, so they should throw the football here.
See him coming with the blitz. Jones is picked up. Pass is complete to the tight end Harrison. Has the first down +5, and now about 8 more yards downfield. Chris Hall is there to make the stop, and there is a flag back at the line of scrimmage. Let's check it out at the 50.
Terry Jordan's reading Jerry Dillon, number 86. He came inside at times, so they threw the football. He stays out, they run it.
Illegal motion, offense, 5 yards.
Big penalty against North Carolina State because they were across the 50-yard line. We're in much better field position. You like this? I like this tight end. Todd Harrison, 6'4", 255-pound senior. He catches the ball well. He blocks.
3-year starter. Injured early, but has come on well. 15 receptions coming into this one for 205 yards, and he got his 2nd touchdown of the year. That one just a few moments ago. Jordan sets well, dumps it across the middle. Stick pretty good on Aubrey Shaw, and the junior out of Hartsville, South Carolina, will take it out to the 46-yard line, and an injury on the play is Burnett, who made the tackle. You can see it looks like that arm is a little bit numb.
It's a third tailback that North Carolina State has used. When you see the linebackers drop deep, and I've been watching East Carolina, they drop deep, you like to throw the delays to back underneath them, and that's what they tried to do with Aubrey Shaw.
Third down, the line to make just inside the 47 of East Carolina. They show blitz, and here they come. Jordan, new place to go. Jerry Dillon, 11-yard loss. That's only the 4th play of the game that North Carolina State has lost yardage on. They were plus on 25 plays.
Again, remember that penalty they had because that stopped that drive. That put them in long yardage situations. They brought Jerry Dillon, the outside linebacker, inside. Here he comes with the blitz, and they were able to put pressure on Terry Jordan.
Kilpatrick into punt, and you remember the job he did the last time he kicked. How in the world he kept it from getting blocked? Well, you saw on the replay. This time, wobbly kick, but good distance. Johnson. Good open field hit, and he'll be knocked down by Shad Santee. So let's take a break. Wolfpack still leading by a touch.
Coaches are always concerned when you go back to a bowl game that you have so much layoff time, the special teams are affected. Here's a nice tackle by Shad Santee, number 2 on Dion Johnson, to keep them from getting any kind of good field position.
Blake in the option will give it off in the run to Van Buren. And for the first time this afternoon, East Carolina picks up a first down rushing with 10 yards or better.
That's important because if they can get their running game going, if they can have some success, they only average 129 per game all through the year. They're basically a throwing football team. They have the Miami formations and Miami pass offense, and then they've got an option offense built in also. But if they can have some success running the football, it'd go a long way for them today.
Good block that time by Tom Scott. That huge one out there at the left tackle. In there out of Rose Hill. Go to the running play, try to run behind Scott again, and they do. He'll have 5 yards, maybe 6. You have the feeling that when Scott is not at home in Rose Hill, that the town is literally a lot smaller, since he weighs close to 350 pounds.
And if they've got a McDonald's there, they'd like to have him home. You know, Ron, again, go back to, I think, both strategies of both teams. They're both trying to play defense with 6 people in the box and using the 7th man in pass coverage, and that's why East Carolina is now able to run the football. But look for Jeff Blake to fake that play and come out and roll out away from that action.
Well, 3 running plays in a row. First time we've seen this sequence from East Carolina, and they will have the first down plus 6, now 7 and 8 yards more. And let's go down on the sideline, Dr. Jerry Punch. Jerry.
You mentioned 3 running plays in a row. They may have seen the fact that Ricky Logo, the starting nose guard, is not in the game. Now, after the season was over, prior to coming down here, he aggravated the stress fractures in his right foot. He's supposed to be wearing an orthoplast splint like this right here. His right 4th and 5th metatarsal bones in his foot have stress fractures. He's been limping around on the sidelines. He is out of the game, and backup Daryl Beard was in a minute ago. And now Logo has gone back in the football game, back upstairs.
Now they're back in a 7-man front, too, so now Jeff Blake probably should throw the football.
Just as you said that, the safety dropped off another 5 yards. Little play action, and they set screen. It's the tight end Fisher. He will have the first down inside the 25 to the 24. Boy, Luke is a former linebacker. He doesn't catch it like a linebacker, though, does he?
No, and you talk about a chess game going on coaching-wise. Now, North Carolina State goes with a 7th man to try to help against the run. Jeff Blake wisely throws a delay pattern to Luke Fisher in the flat. So again, and now it becomes a chess game whether you want to try to stop the run of the pass. If I'm North Carolina State on defense, you prove to me you can run the football. I'm not going to let Jeff Blake throw it.
Fisher, 3 catches for 44 yards. Van Buren has a couple. Will take it down in the vicinity of the 20-yard line. Mike, just what you were talking about, when NC State starts to bring more folks toward the line of scrimmage, those safeties are dropping off anywhere from 15 to 17 yards off the ball.
Well, they really are, because they're trying to protect against the big play of Jeff Blake. But both quarterbacks are seeing the same type of defensive strategy, you know, trying to stop the run with 6 people in the box and then trying to play against the pass. Rushing yardage, NC State 110 yards, but now East Carolina getting a little bit on track with the running game.
On second down, and they need the 13-yard line. Blake to Van Buren, has the first, inside the 10. It is 1st and goal Pirates, and now here comes in a late marker.
Yard, face mask on the defense. First down.
Turner made the tackle, and as you can hear the official say, it was incidental. Only 5 yards. Second time against NC State.
You see that East Carolina has them outmanned and outnumbered on the running game, and there's the face mask at the end of the play by Ricky Turner.
You see Ricky took his hand right off of it. He was trying to get the headgear, realized he had the face mask, and of course by then the flag had already been thrown. So it's got to be 1st and goal, and they'll mark it just inside the 5-yard line.
Last time down here, play action pass on 1st down. Could run the option down here. They like the option with Jeff Blake.
They run option. Will not pitch it as the pitch man was covered up. Dion Johnson. In fact, Dion had been tackled back before the play was over.
Well, they like the option inside the 10-yard line. NC State probably seen that in their films and played the option very well on that play. Now you've got to get some kind of play where you get Jeff Blake on a rollout pass on the corner where he can run pass against the North Carolina State defense.
Blake is not the kind of quarterback that one glance and then he's going to take off and run. And when he goes back to throw, he's there to throw, isn't he?
He's a passing quarterback first. He wants a chance to throw the football, and if it's not there, he'll take off.
Incomplete at the goal line. Gallimore's who he wanted. That's what I thought. Mike Reed came through and made a stick on him, and it'll be 3rd down.
Deep drops by the North Carolina State linebackers here. They may try to bring somebody underneath, like Luke Fisher underneath, try to get him the ball and let him try to run it in from about the 5 or 4 yard line. But again, good zone coverage by North Carolina State where they go back, sit in their zone, read the eyes of Jeff Blake. When he throws the ball, they break on the ball and knock it down. Pretty good job by NC State.
3rd down.
This is where they like to look with Luke Fisher and Dion Johnson on this side.
Puts it up quickly, looking for Driver, and it is incomplete. Flag is down.
Good ball. Good ball. Delay game on offense. 5 yards.
Boy, East Carolina got a break on that one, Mike.
Well, they got a chance to see their 3rd down defense and throw the fade. They know the fade's not there. Driver just was covered well on the fade play by Sebastian Savage.
And for people sitting at home saying there was contact, yes, there was. But remember one thing. 32 Savage was squared away toward the football. Now, if he had had his back to it and then looked up late after the contact, then it would have been offensive interference.
You're right. Good positioning by Savage. Now, here's where you got to look at Luke Fisher now. Number 91 is a player I think that Jeff Blake's got to try to get the ball to.
Got him over the middle. Will not make it to the end zone. Fisher. He will be racked at the original line of scrimmage, the 4.5 yard line. And coming on is John Jett, along with Anthony Brenner, and they will be going for the field goal attempt.
See, that delay of game hurt them because the 5 yards hurt them on that play. But again, Luke Fisher, 33 times this year on the 35 receptions he had were 3rd downs for 1st down situation or to gain a 1st down. Not necessarily 3rd down, but he's the possession guy that Jeff Blake wants to go to.
22-yard attempt by Brenner.
They're short a man.
It's Crumpler coming on late. Second delay of game penalty.
Special teams again, Ron. Even if it's a penalty on special teams, but had somebody come on late. And I'm not so sure that Carlester Crumpler was the right guy to go on because he just ran on the field to give him the extra guy, but I don't think he was the right
You know what? They better be glad they had delay of game. No one else went on, did they? They've already got
ball. Delay of game. Offense, 5 yard penalty.
They already had 11 men on the field. They got 11 out there now. He just came off, and they still have 11.
You're exactly right. That's what the players were saying. We're not snapping the ball. We got 12.
That was very smart. It showed poise on their part.
Lester had to fit in there somewhere, and he just didn't fit.
Well, I thought they already had one wing blocker on the left side. High pass. Kick is on the way, and he got it. And our new score, 14-10, North Carolina State. And let's send it down to Adrian Karsten. Adrian, what do you have for us?
Well, Ron, you don't go from a 5-6 record last year to a 10-1 record this year unless you believe. That's been their slogan on the ECU sidelines all season long. A lot of coaches, a lot of players say that a slogan doesn't do much for you. But Coach Lewis and his team said it's been more than that. And they've got over 20,000 ECU fans here, believe, as well.
Ron, I think that Eddie Fisher, I'm not positive of this. You and I should know this, but I think he sang a song, I Believe, way back in the 50s.
I know I'm familiar with the song. I'm not sure it was Eddie Fisher.
I'm not
I don't
so
think
sure
so.
it was I Believe either, but I remember the words in there, I Believe.
Well, be sure to be with us tomorrow night because I do believe there's another hefty dose of college basketball. First is 7 o'clock, number 7, Ohio State. And, of course, that means Mr. Jimmy Jackson hosting the surprising Penn State Nittany Lion in what proves to be a great game. 9 o'clock, then it's Purdue against North Carolina, the number 8 Tar Heels. And in Weber State and Montana at midnight. All tomorrow evening right here on ESPN. Now we're checking with the truck, trying to do further investigation on your question, Mr. Guthrie.
Yeah, they're all young people down there. They're not going to remember that song.
Line drive kick, and Savage will let this one go into the end zone and then out. No, Lawrence, I beg your pardon, 35 rather than 32. So they'll get it at the 20-yard line. And just what we had anticipated as they fight for supremacy of the state of North Carolina. East Carolina and North Carolina State have put on an awfully good show in his first half of play, and we still have 6:41 remaining until halftime. Average gain on first down. North Carolina State, you look at the scoring drive. 9 plays, 61 yards, just under 4 minutes. And Brenner with the field goal. Now back to what I was saying. Average gain on first down, 6.1 for NC State, and for East Carolina, 3.7. Barber, 5, 10, make it 12. Wow, what a quick burst right up the middle. I said he's not big when he gets in traffic, but when he is speeding past traffic, well, that's a different story.
Well, you just gave that statistic, 6.1 yards. But look at the double team. Watch the offensive guard come off on the linebacker. The hole just opens up big time for Anthony Barber, number 24. And again, that's the key. They have to run the ball right at East Carolina.
Plus the fact that East Carolina will not see very many passing downs that NC State doesn't want to throw when they keep giving up big yardage on first down. They got to start stopping them on first down, don't you think?
First down's a key down. And here they do a pretty good job and get the ball.
Maynor with the fumble, recovered by the Pirates. Derek Taylor was one of those who was in the middle of the action, and I think, yeah, it is. It's Derek Taylor who makes the recovery.
Here's, you're going to see just a give to Maynor, the fullback. Watch the ball pop out here. There's the ball. He's still standing up. Good tackle by Tony Davis, 53, to cause the fumble.
First turnover against North Carolina State. You remember the Pirates threw the interception, and the Wolfpack came back and took advantage with a touchdown. Let's see if East Carolina can do the same. They're down by 4. Blake with the play action, lobs it. He's got a man. Whoa, contact. No flag.
Pretty good coverage by Mike Reed, number 3. There was a bump.
Mike, here I disagree. One more step and he catches it for a touchdown. He did impede his progress there.
It's close. I mean, there's a bump there.
Watch the right side of your screen.
Watch number 3. There's the little bump right here.
See, he knocked him out of his lane at that juncture.
Got a chance for it. Could have been called.
Second down and 10.
Remember, NC State took advantage of their turnover for a touchdown. East Carolina needs to do the same.
The running play down to the 21-yard line with Van Buren, and he's close to the first down. About a yard, maybe a yard and a half shy from where they have spotted it.
This is where Jeff Blake is dangerous on a 3rd and short yardage because they like to throw the football on 3rd and short.
Good look at Jeff Blake, senior from Sanford, Florida. 6'1", 194 pounds, and as we mentioned, has broken 32 school records in his time at East Carolina. See the linebackers creeping up. Ball is on the ground, and Blake did everything he could do just to recover it, let alone pick up the first. It'll be 4th, and this will be a 42-yard field goal attempt if that's what they go for.
Now you have to credit the North Carolina defense here for being able to hold back. Here you're going to see the replay on the option, Jeff Blake, but see the penetration, number 53, makes good penetration. Tony Davis, he's the one that caused the fumble.
Anthony Brenner to attempt the field goal. North Carolina State leading by 4. Tries to whittle it down to 1. His career long is 51 yards. Got plenty of distance and does not have the accuracy. Off to the right. Let's take one more look at that. We have talked over the recent weeks at the goalpost, and they're being moved in. And look how close he is. Well, Ron Franklin, along with Mike Gottfried, Dr. Jerry Punch, and Adrian Karsten, and we wish you all a very happy new year. By the way, all the Frankie Valli fans have called in at our studios and said it was Frankie Valli who did the tune. Thanks for the calls. We'll take requests in the second half.
I remember Eddie Fisher. That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Anthony Barber hit at the line of scrimmage and has got to be knocked down after a gain of 1. Here are today's turnovers in this 24th Peach Bowl game.
Both of these teams, giveaways, takeaways, ranked 4th in the country in the NCAA statistics. There you see NC State and East Carolina behind Florida State 9-2, Washington 11-0, Penn State 10-2. But NC State's defense did not allow East Carolina to take advantage of their turnover.
Well, if there's anything that drives the coach batty, it is not taking care of business and putting it on the ground. Barber will have maybe 1, and that'll be it. It'll be 3rd down. As right there defensively was Bernard Carter. Mike, and this gives me an opportunity as we're about to go into 4 minutes to play in this first half. There have been more coaching jobs coming open this year than I can ever remember in college football. In fact, we just had one as of yesterday right here in Atlanta with Bobby Ross leaving.
Well, I think Billy Lewis is somebody they're going to consider here. But I think the times have changed. I think the owners in the NFL are guys who didn't come up through football. They weren't coaches. They weren't people associated with football. They're businessmen. And I think the same thing's happening to college. You have ADs who are former SIDs or business people. And I don't think they have the empathy for coaches that they need to have. They're firing them all too fast.
Interesting point. Jordan sets it up over the middle. Incomplete. Aubrey Shaw maybe a tad behind him, but he should have caught it, I believe. It was catchable as Jordan put it there, and NC State will have to punt. One more thing about it. You really think that Billy Lewis at East Carolina, maybe you think he's the top candidate for the Georgia Tech job?
I really believe if they don't move an assistant up quickly, like in the next 24 hours, that it will turn, and it'll turn to Billy Lewis's opportunity, because he coached at Georgia Tech. He was at Georgia for many years, but I'll tell you, he's got a nice job here at East Carolina.
Boy, do the fans love it. Pressure from East Carolina. This is a dandy punt by Kilpatrick. Johnson has to run away with it. Put a mark by that one all the way down to the 22-yard line. That's a 51-yard kick, and he's kicking into what is a quartering win against him. Excellent job. Well, it's a double dose of comprehensive NFL playoff coverage this weekend. On Saturday, kick it off with NFL Game Day at 11:30. Chris Berman, Tom Jackson, Joe Theismann, and the entire crew preview the Saturday matchups and news stories before the action. Then it's NFL Primetime at 7:30, rounding up the highlights and analysis after it's over. Then on Sunday, join him again for Game Day at noon, Primetime at 7. All of the best NFL coverage this weekend right here on ESPN. Nothing doing for Van Buren this time as Billy Ray Haynes comes over from that left linebacking spot, and Clayton Henry also was out there to help on the stop.
I think we're due to see some type of quick screen by East Carolina, some type of screen to try to help Jeff Blake, even though they're not getting a lot of pass rush. North Carolina State has not rushed a passer with more than 3 people or 4 people this entire day, but a quick screen to try to get the ball out to Deion Johnson quick.
Under 3 minutes to play until halftime in this 24th Peach Bowl game. Blake zips out the pass to Johnson. Needs one block, and he gets it. Hang on. 5, 10. Nope, they're going to say he stepped out of bounds before he got to the first down marker. So 3rd down, they got to take care of business with just a few inches, but they did stop the clock at 2:31.
Well, that's the quick screen I was just talking about. The Jeff Blake goes back, throws the ball out to Deion Johnson. The blockers get in front of him, and you know, with his speed, if you can just get the ball in his hands, that's like a running play for most teams. You don't have a real great running game at East Carolina. You don't have the established tailback, so get the ball out as quick as you can to a speed receiver. Let him be your running back.
Also explain why the wide receiver all of a sudden came free and put his hands wide out to the side. He was trying to tell that line judge that he was not clipping on Savage so that he wouldn't reverse that play and bring it back. Savage is very smart. He does a good job at that cornerback. You can see why he was an all-conference performer.
And he has a great name, Sebastian Savage.
Halftime report, plays of the year, who's going to be number one, and also some first half analysis of this 24th Peach Bowl. 9 of 16 with 1 interception, 99 yards and 1 touchdown. Those are the numbers on Blake in his opening half. And Blake will take it straight ahead. Don't be surprised. Well, it'll be stopped for a moment. Going to say, don't be surprised if East Carolina might not use one here. They've still got 3 timeouts because you're making substitutions. As soon as the chains are set, they'll whistle it back in.
Got a lot of time with their offense.
(14 to 10) North Carolina State. Blake has it complete just shy of the 50-yard line, and that's Gallimore. Hunter is a senior out of Wilson, North Carolina. Good for 15 yards.
Against zone coverage, what East Carolina is doing is bringing crossing routes underneath just to try to occupy the linebackers long enough to get Hunter Gallimore behind them. And that's why he's open in the zone.
About to go under 2 minutes until halftime. Blake tries to get out of harm's way, and Big John Akins is there to knock him down for the 2nd sack by the Wolfpack today.
John Akins, number 96, was able to get to Jeff Blake, and again, a 3-man rush. Now, that's a good sign for North Carolina State. You know, you're able to get to him with a 3-man rush, but the pattern was so deep down the field that that's what took so long. Wasn't necessarily that the offensive lineman didn't do a good job, just the route was so deep.
So there's a timeout been called on the field. 1:47 left until halftime. Let's take it with him. 1991 has been an unforgettable year for the sports fans of Atlanta. The Braves, they went from worst to first. Favorite son Evander Holyfield successfully defended his heavyweight championship. The Falcons won their first postseason game since 1978. And there's more to come. The year brought forth news of Atlanta obtaining the rights to host the 1996 Summer Olympics. A lot going on in the city. Last night, as the Big Peach came down, signaling in 1992, giant fireworks display downtown. Over 100,000 people in downtown Atlanta. Blake gonna go long, and he's got a man at the 5. Touchdown, Gallimore.
Big play offensive football team. You can't allow them the big play. North Carolina State's only given up 3 touchdowns of over 25 yards. That's a 55-yard touchdown pass from Hunter Gallimore. But what made it happen was Jeff Blake didn't scramble. It's like we talked about. He had to scramble for yardage, but he wanted the pass play. He sat in there, threw the ball deep for the touchdown to Gallimore.
Anthony Brenner. 17-14. The Pirates of East Carolina have forged on top with 1:39 left until halftime.
Watch Jeff Blake as he goes back to set up to throw the football. He sits in there and he has time to wait for Gallimore to go down the field on the streak route. But what is really impressive about Jeff Blake is he could scramble, but he wants to sit in there and take the home run that he's known to hit. And there's the touchdown to Gallimore, 82. And reaction by Jeff Blake, number 2. Big score just before halftime.
Boy, you took the words right out of my mouth. There was Dwayne Johnson, number 20, who was trailing. I'm not so sure that Ricky Turner, number 15, I think he barely got a fingertip on the ball, and Gallimore still concentrated enough to gather it in.
The impressive point again was that ball was thrown right on the money.
Yep, it sure was. 17-14, the Pirates.
You can't give a team like East Carolina those big plays. You have to make them work the field.
Lawrence and Barber, the deep men, and this is going to be very returnable. Short, taken by Cooper, and he will bring it out to the 31-yard line. And let's go down to Adrian Karsten one more time. Adrian.
Well, right here in the land of the free and the home of the Braves, we're used to seeing the tomahawk chop that you'll remember some Native Americans took issue with. There's a gentleman up in North Carolina who took issue with the saber slash. That gentleman was a direct descendant of Edward Teach. Who's Edward Teach? Blackbeard the Pirate. You got to know your Jolly Roger if you're going to work the sidelines down here.
That's right, Adrian. Thank you.
You didn't even know Eddie Fisher, and now you know this guy.
Screen pass will be good for close to 8, maybe 9 yards. That's Chris Williams, senior from Cleveland, who comes over to bring it out to the 38, maybe the 39-yard line.
I've watched both these teams practice at their respective schools. Both of them work very diligently on 2-minute offense and 2-minute defense. So it wouldn't surprise me that they're both pretty good in this area of the game.
Jordan, ball is tipped incomplete. Derek Taylor, who had the recovery a moment ago, tips the pass. All right, now here are some numbers. The adjustments made by East Carolina. North Carolina State on the last 3 drives lost 9, picked up 10. Right here has picked up 2.
They need to pick up the first down right now. That's the key for them. They may have to run to get the first down.
Option pitch, no place to go for Williams.
Tried to run into the short side of the field away from the strong safety again. Now East Carolina is going to get the ball back with their 2-minute drill. Going to use a timeout here, force NC State, punt the football, and they still have time with 46 seconds on the clock to use their 2-minute offense again.
Well, I'm not sure I would kick it to Johnson right now. I mean, you've just had, as you pointed out, a momentum swing. I think I'd either kick it away from it, maybe even kick it out of bounds. But the last thing in the world you want, you're down by 3 points. Momentum has gone to the opponent. I certainly wouldn't want to go in trailing by 10 points at halftime. And Johnson is the type of guy who could put it in the end zone for him that quickly.
Well, the other thing is, if I'm East Carolina, I'm going after this punt. I'm going to try to block it. I'm going to leave Deion Johnson down there by himself. Just get whatever he can get. But I'm going to try to block it. I remember that first snap. That was almost over the head of the punter, Kilpatrick. So now I have to, if I'm the defensive coach of East Carolina, I have to really try to put somebody on the center, try to occupy his attention, hope for a bad snap, get some pressure in there and block the stick.
You're right. They're coming after him. Johnson will see nobody to help him block because his teammates, everybody went after the kicker.
And they were close.
Kilpatrick put on a good act, but the official comes over and said, no, I'm sorry. No award on this one. I'll tell you what, he earned his keep in that first half, though, on the high pass when he was able to get any kick away at all. And that was a kick that could have been blocked by East Carolina. Kilpatrick had the presence of mind to gather it and still get it off.
This East Carolina offense is now like the basketball and the Kentucky's basketball team, Rick Pitino's team, the three-point shot. They're firing now. I mean, they're behind that line. They're all going to throw.
We'll look at the linebackers. And you can see 3 people. The other 8 have dropped off extremely deep. Pass complete to Fisher, the tight end, at the 39. Now they go into hurry up. Clock is stopped at 28.
Now, if you're Jeff Blake, all you want to do now is work down that field goal range. I mean, you'd like to have a touchdown, but with the depth that North Carolina State's playing, the chances of getting that, the percentages, I'm not saying they won't because they do throw the ball deep a lot, but now just work them underneath and try to get some yardage after the catch.
Well, as you can see, the clock just started again. That's because he did pick up the first down, and this one will be incomplete. Now a marker has been thrown deep, and I think he's pointing the finger at Nick Wilson. We may have a holding call. Yep, against East Carolina. Coming up at the halftime, Tim Brando, Lee Corso, and Craig James.
I thought I heard Lee Corso say the other night, of course I could have been not a sound mind at that particular time, that he thought,
holding, offense, 10 yards, spot foul, repeat first down.
Nebraska would beat Miami, and I'm not sure. I know Lee's not a drinking man.
Maybe he'll elaborate on that during halftime. In fact, now that you have mentioned it, I feel certain he will.
Of course, it's the holiday season. Maybe he did take a nip or two.
Well, you notice only one person was making these accusations. Langston scrambled, and again the old turf demon comes up and trips him up. John Akins was in pursuit. 8 ticks showing on the clock. 17-14. East Carolina leading. You know what's really interesting about that situation at the Orange Bowl tonight? I'm with you. I'm not sure that I would agree that Nebraska could win. However, Miami's a huge favorite in that game. I'm not going to be surprised if Nebraska plays them well under the spread, if they play them closer than that, Mike. I think after a while, guys get tired of getting their face rubbed in it and keep being told that they're not good enough, or they're just, you know, not even considered.
Well, it's going to be an interesting day in college football. East Carolina, who's ranked 12th in the country, could, with a win here, put themselves in the top 10.
In the top 10, first time in the history of the school. Other side of the coin, though, as far as that thing down at the Orange Bowl, is where they're playing. There are a lot of people who might think, you know, the first championship that they won, it was done in their own backyard. And you know, as a former coach yourself, what a difference it makes when you get to play in your own backyard.
And there's been many a good teams who go down there and come out with not good feelings.
All right, now the secondary has dropped off 40 and 45 yards as Blake should have already turned. Can he get it that far? Yeah, he sure can. It is tipped and intercepted by North Carolina State. That's Mike Reed, who came away with the football at the 5-yard line.
All you hope for.
We are at halftime. War, baby. 17-14. East Carolina leads as we go to intermission.
Happy New Year and welcome to our college football studios, everyone. Thrifty Car Rental Bowl Week continues with the Peach Bowl. I am your host, Tim Brando, joined by Lee Corso and Craig James. And by the way, Lee Corso's idea of spreading good cheer, Mike Gottfried, is little more than a Shirley Temple in Bristol, Connecticut.
Listen, hey, Mike, remember you talked about my handkerchief? You bet me it's called a pocket scarf. You don't even know what it is. I bet you my pocket scarf against your handkerchief that Nebraska wins the game tonight.
But we're going to make Gottfried wait just a while longer on why Nebraska will beat Miami. Let's talk about this game. If you love college football, you got to love Jeff Blake in East Carolina.
There's no question, but their concern, East Carolina's concern at the beginning of the game was that North Carolina State would ball control them and keep Blake on the sideline. The first drive by State was beautiful, but as long as you got Jeff Blake, you got a chance to win the game.
Hey, first of all, you coaches are hard on each other. I'm done. I wasn't a former coach here at all. I mean, but I agree with you. Ball control. NC State had the 6-minute drive that they had the touchdown drive on. They've got to come out in the second half and find an 8- or 9-minute drive somewhere in that second half to keep the ball away from Blake.
Yeah, remember this now. This is just the first of 8 halftime shows that most college football fans will be watching. But it's the first one, and we're going to make you remember it as we continue with our halftime. We also have some quotable quotes to tell you about, beginning with Steve Spurrier. Well, you know, sometimes quarterbacks get hit, but that's the price you pay for getting your name in the paper and having all the pretty girls hanging around you. That from a man who married the homecoming queen, was a scratch golfer, won the Heisman, and looks like a movie star. Plays of the year are coming up next. Oh, yeah, from Holy Cross and more. stay right where you are on this New Year's Day. Here's the reason you don't watch the Rose Parade on New Year's Day. Jeff Blake. That's his reaction after a touchdown pass to Gallagher to give East Carolina a 3-point lead over NC State. We welcome you back to our college football studios, and Happy New Year, everybody. As we begin 1992, it's time to reflect on a 91 regular season that, despite a few flaws, brought all of the emotion that collegiate campaigns are known for. Our Chris Fowler has the best of the best in 91.
Let's hear it for the 91 college football season. We're not just blowing hot air. Hey, Pumpkinheads, get back here. You're supposed to be in the coverage team.
Ball on the ground, and it's going to be recovered by UC.
No, you're kicking it the wrong way. It's coming to me. I got it. Now, to those who show grace and flight, we present the Pigskin Ballet. Hey, Doc, I haven't been able to focus all season. I must have a mental block. Sometimes when I'm running the option, I forget where my teammate is, and he has to make up for my absent-mindedness. Then they move me to receiver, and I couldn't hold on to the ball. Punting seems safe. Wrong. Hawaii can turn you into a crushed pineapple. Defensive back, no better when Irv Smith decides he's going to carry all of Indiana on his shoulders. The season was sometimes a drag, especially for the official. Would you want to be in the middle of that?
Not, you know.
Yes. Deceit and trickery are alive and well in 91.
Oh, he fakes it out, 40, 35, 30, send it 20, all the way, 10, 5, touchdown, no flag, Andy Talley calls a fake punt, I cannot believe it.
He's going to fire deep again for Hoffman, and it's caught by Rowley. Oh, and he lateral to Hoffman, touchdown, what a play. Hokies in a deep zone, he throws it short, deflected, up for grabs, and intercepted at the 45 by Dwayne Knight. He's running it back to the 40, and he fumbles the football. It's picked up by John Ray, the big man for West Virginia. Laterals to Morrell. Morrell is going for a touchdown, but it was a forward pass again. A flag is thrown. Touchdown West Virginia, but it's coming back.
Once in a while, even the defense can pull off a trick or two. Central Washington's Brian Matson, out of nowhere, picks off the pitch from Pacific Lutheran and gallops 90 yards to the end zone. Sure, celebrate, but beware. Danger lurks everywhere on the field. Well, we hope we've grabbed your attention. And as you savor the snapshots of the 91 season, remember to buckle up that chin strap for 92.
A photo Fowler finish if I ever saw one. Which is the one of those that really plays in your mind at the end of the year?
Well, Tim, you saw it. Desmond Howard's catch against Notre Dame on 4th and 1 was a sensational catch. It got him to national attention to start his race for the Heisman. If you'll notice here, it was 4th down and 1. Gerback pumped, but watch Desmond Howard dive out there, and that catch right there with that picture all over the nation started his Heisman race.
At the time, I was right here next to you. You're saying, horrible call. Coach Moeller, how could you do that to the kid?
Okay, it was 4th and 1. They were supposed to run it out. Notre Dame changed the coverage. He went into a deep pattern, and only Desmond Howard would have caught that ball.
To the Slauson cutoff. All right, Craig, which is the one that comes into your mind?
Coach, it's plays like that you're glad your players make the adjustments, right?
Well, no question.
I'll have to stick with the wide receiver. Maybe not the biggest play of the year, but it stuck in my mind. San Diego State, BYU, Patrick Rowe, the wide receiver. This is a ball game where it was 52-52. Rowe, an All-American as a junior, comes out and makes a play like this. Not an All-American this season, but yet that kind of catch right there will ensure that he plays on Sundays in the National Football League.
Stay right where you are. We've got a lot more to cover as we continue, and among what we have to cover, the quotable quotes from 1991. Take a look at this. Every time we play on ESPN, I think the guys are so worried about whether their socks are wide enough or their shoes are brand new or if their shirts are tucked in the right way. Every time we play on TV, everybody is trying to show off for television. And every time we do that, we get beat up. That's said by a mountaineer by the name of Michael Beasley right before he was buried in Happy Valley. Who's going to be happiest tomorrow? We'll tell you who will be #1 when we continue. East Carolina up 3 in the Peach Bowl. Our Bowl Fest continues on New Year's Day. Tim Brando, along with the Coach Lee Corso and Craig James. Well, we're not at all happy with necessarily the matchups we have today, but we're team players. We have to play with the hand that we have been dealt. And the hand that we have been dealt is not a bad one, really, in the Rose Bowl. For the first time since '79, Lee, it could play a role in this year's national champion, the granddaddy of them all.
I think so. I like Washington. I think they're the best team in the nation. They got great offensive balance. They got tremendous speed on defense. Michigan's key, they have Desmond Howard, but the key to Michigan is their pass protection. They've only had 6 sacks this year on Elvis Grbac.
I think you'll agree. Defenses win championships, and it'll be no different in the Rose Bowl today. When you look at scoring defense, Michigan has given up 15 points a ball game. Washington only 9.2. The key in the game will be Michigan's offensive line. Can they protect and give Grbac enough time to get the ball to Desmond Howard? He's a fabulous player, but regardless how talented you are, if the ball doesn't go in the air, you have no chance at all of getting there.
And one thing, as much as I like Michigan, and as much as I like Washington, Washington's the best team in the nation, but Michigan is so good, I think this is going to be a close game.
When you start talking about the Sugar Bowl, the road to Poydras Street, if you will, for the Florida Gators, in their minds, could be a road to a possible national title. But once again, Mickey Holmes is saddled with a 3-loss team for the SEC champion. Craig, who do you like here?
Well, you've got 2 good offenses in this ball game, 2 good quarterbacks. Rick Mirer, Shane Matthews. I like Matthews in this situation here. He's probably better than Mirer, maybe because of Florida's offensive scheme and Steve Spurrier as a quarterback coach. Jerome Bettis in Nebraska, they like to rush the football up the middle. The big bowling ball, he'll have a good time today, but he's going to meet 2 big defensive tackles from Florida. Tony McCoy, and you've got Brad Culpepper. Both of those guys are outstanding. They'll stop the running game, and they'll be in the backfield with Rick Mirer when he tries to throw the football. I like Florida. I think they're explosive. They got a balanced team, kicking game as well. It's a tough team.
Yeah, but don't forget, Florida is 0-1 inside. They lost to Syracuse in the Carrier Dome. You're right, Notre Dame will run the option play and hurt them. But Florida has such a sophisticated passing attack, I think Florida will beat Notre Dame by at least 10 points.
Remember, though, the last time Lou Holtz became defensive coordinator, you know Gary Darnell is gone. They played their best a season ago. Don't give Lou Holtz more than 3 weeks to prepare. One of the best big game coaches in America. Notre Dame given 6 points. Hey, it's the Irish. It's New Year's Day. I like Notre Dame to give Florida a tussle.
You like Holtz, and I like Holtz. He knows X's and O's, but when you leave that boardroom as a coach, you've got to realize you've got to have football players on your team. Their defensive line at Notre Dame, they've got number 2 and 3 teamers playing right now. They're decimated with injuries, and that'll make a difference in this game.
All right, now the Orange Bowl, of course, number 1 against number 11. That's pathetic, folks. But again, we have to play with the hand that we have been dealt. You do like Nebraska?
Absolutely, and I'm telling you how they're going to beat them. Nebraska's going to run directly at Miami and their undersized linebacker. They're going to control the ball. On defense, they're going to take those defensive backs and play them back 20 yards, keep everything in front of them, and make Miami beat them with the running attack.
Yeah, I still got to go against you here. And you came out with that thing the other day about number 25 against the run in the country. And that's true when you're playing all 11. But in the Orange Bowl, and that's where this ball game is going to be played, Miami's defense is number 5 in the country. They only give up 87 yards a ball game. Big difference there. North-south runners with Nebraska. Miami's going to be in position to make the plays. This is the Orange Bowl. Miami's team speed is the difference. I don't care how deep you play in secondary coverage. If you're Nebraska, Copeland, Lamar Thomas, they get past you. Kevin Williams, it's a foot race to the end zone.
All right, remember this, though. If Michigan happens to beat Washington and if Nebraska happens to beat Miami, take a look at the teams that could have 1 loss this year. That's a plethora, folks. Miami, Washington, Florida, Michigan, Iowa, Alabama, A&M, Nebraska, East Carolina, provided they hang on today, and Clemson 10-1-1. Folks, we need a Final Four. No one argues about who the top 4 teams are at the end of the year, but everyone argues about who's number 1. We need a national championship Final Four format.
You never get Final Four. I think you might get a championship game. Step 1, a championship game between the 2 best teams in the nation at a neutral site, maybe in a place like Orlando, which just happens to be my hometown. The NCAA, TV, they take care of it, and they give the money to the schools. I like one game for the championship.
Coach, I really do like you, and I would have enjoyed playing for you, but I got to disagree with you once again. I think you got to go with 4 teams. How do you tell a man like Steve Spurrier with a football team like he has, Coach, you got to sit at home and watch this 2-team playoff? You can't do that. You got to go out and have 4 teams playing for the situation, and the weekend before the Super Bowl, at the Super Bowl site, you go in there, it's an open date, and you got an NCAA championship game, boom, 50, 75 million bucks, takes care of a lot of these presidents' money problem.
Yeah, presidents will always come around when the dollar comes up, and it will in 4 years when the CFA contract is up. Speaking about who's number one, well, one guy has a comment on who he believes is number one. Take a look at this quote of the year. I'm sure it's on some chalkboards today. Made by Washington quarterback Billy Joe Hobart. I think Michigan is better than Miami. Right now, East Carolina and NC State are making a statement as to how good they are. Gary Downs with the ball control for Dick Sheridan's Wolfpack. Will they be back? Stay with us. Another bowl game is underway down in Tampa, the Hall of Fame Bowl. Syracuse taking on Ohio State. It is now a 7-0 game. Marvin Graves 50 yards to Shelby Hill for the touchdown, so the Orangemen have the lead in that game. So, what do we anticipate in half number 2 in this one in the Peach Bowl?
East Carolina, shotgun, Jeff Blake in a quarterback position so he can see better and cut down the North Carolina State pass rush. Throw the ball to win.
And speaking of pass rush, that means that if you're NC State, you've got to come with 4, 5, and 6 people. Mix it up, try to confuse Blake.
It's an imperfect system, ladies and gentlemen. Sometimes we in television are negligent. Phone lines have been jammed from Bowling Green. The Mid-American Conference upset because Bowling Green is one of those teams, Division 1A, with 1 loss. They can lay claim to a national title right off the phone, hot to the presses. Take a look at how they can lay claim to a national championship. Bowling Green beat Fresno State, which beat Washington State, which beat Oregon State, which beat Oregon, which beat Texas Tech. Now, Texas Tech went on to beat Baylor. Baylor beat Colorado. Colorado beat Oklahoma. Oklahoma beat Iowa State. Iowa State beat Rice. Rice beat Northwestern. Northwestern beat the Illini. Illinois beat East Carolina. East Carolina beat Syracuse. Syracuse beat Florida. Florida beat Florida State. Florida State beat Michigan. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Bowling Green is the consensus pick for the national championship, provided Michigan and Nebraska come away with wins today, as so picked by our crack crew here at ESPN. As I said, imperfect system, imperfect champion. Stay with us. We've got a lot more in the second half to tell you about. Ron Franklin and Mike Gottfried have been watching Jordan and Todd Harrison make plays in Atlanta near Peachtree Street. NFL Game Day at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time, Saturday, and again on Sunday, NFL Primetime. Chris Berman, Tom Jackson, Chris Mortensen will tell you the story both days as the playoffs continue. We'll have Game Day noon on Sunday, special time on Saturday. All right, Tim Brando back again with the coach, Lee Corso, and Craig James, and congratulations to Mark Duffner, the new head coach at Maryland. What's going to happen at Georgia Tech, given the fact that Ross has gone to San Diego?
See that guy on the sideline, Bill Lewis? Within a week, you'll be the head coach at Georgia Tech.
Craig James, Arizona State is still open. Mike Gottfried may be in the wind, I think, down on the West Coast.
Coach Gottfried, I think the big plus for him, if he went back to coaching, is all the publicity and the airtime that he's gotten by doing this. So I think that he would be a great recruiter in that situation.
Well, we all know that airtime, short of Lee Corso, can help you get a coaching job, or at least help you get a chance at a coaching job.
The late Mary job's open in Orlando, Florida.
A high school gig is waiting for Corso. Let's get out to the big guys, Gottfried, Franklin, and Karsten.
And don't leave out Dr. Jerry Punch. Happy New Year to him as well. East Carolina 17-14. And the noise you hear in the background is because the Pirates are just coming back on the field again. And Mike Gottfried, they have been quite a Cinderella story. They started off just as you had told me they might. A little rocky because maybe they were a little nervous about the first bowl game, but boy, have they ever settled down.
They settled down. The first quarter was North Carolina State. Second quarter was East Carolina. And the statistics will prove that. But again, big plays, and they made the big play, the long pass to Hunter Gallimore, which we're going to see. Jeff Blake went back to throw the football, was able to dodge the rush, waited. Look at this ball, thrown right on the money to Hunter Gallimore. for the big touchdown. And North Carolina State can ill afford to give up the big plays. Now, on the other side of the ball, North Carolina State had success in the first half running the football. Here you're going to see Gary Downs. They ran for 86 yards in the first quarter, but in the second quarter, they only got 19 yards. So the second quarter was owned by East Carolina.
Well, right now, let's go down to Dr. Jerry Punch, and he is with Dick Sheridan on the sidelines. Gentlemen.
Coach, your team played an excellent first half, but some of the big plays hurt you.
Well, we gave up a lot of big plays, and East Carolina's been making those plays all year, and if we're going to win this ball game, we've got to eliminate that in the second half.
Adjustments at halftime, Coach?
Well, they gave some looks on defense that they had not shown. We've tried to adjust to those.
Coach, good luck to you. Let's go over to Adrian Carson.
Jeff, you hearing me at all, Tom? Coach, you said that it's important for you guys to play this game the way you played the other 11 all year long. Has any lack of bowl experience hurt you at all so far?
I don't think so. I think in the first drive, our defense particularly was uneasy, unsettled. We had the 3 penalties that really aided them in their first drive. But I think our people after that are settled down. I think we're playing the game the way we need to. This thing's a long way from over because we're playing a mighty fine football team.
What do you have to do in the second half to beat the Wolfpack?
Well, the biggest concern I've got is that they've taken the ball, as we talked about, and they came right at us. We've got to play tougher on defense, be a little more physical on defense.
Good luck, Coach, second half. Go get him. Ryan, back to you, sir.
All right, thanks, Adrian. Thanks, Dr. Jerry Punch. Fine work down on the sidelines, gentlemen. And let's take a look at the statistics in that first 30 minutes of play. Mike, what do you see there?
Well, I think the key statistic, again, is look at the first quarter rushing for North Carolina State. 86 yards. East Carolina was held to -9, but in the second quarter, East Carolina ran the football with some success for 51 yards. NC State got away from it a little bit, only ran for 19 yards.
When you look at that average field position, it does wind up averaging out in the first half. But you remember we made the point. NC State, the first 3 times they had the ball in great field position. Then all of a sudden, because of turnovers and also a punt, then a score, field position changed for them, and they had to become a little bit more conservative offensively.
Well, I think in the second half, they really have to open up the game a little bit more. They still have to run the football, but Terry Jordan's got to try to get the ball to Charles Davenport, number 7, on the outside. They have not thrown the ball down the field deep, and you have to at least challenge East Carolina deep to keep them off the running game.
Anthony Brenner will kick it off. NC State won the toss to begin the ball game. They deferred to the second half, and that's the reason that they are getting the football. Lawrence and Barber, the 2 deep men for the Wolfpack. This will come down to Reggie Lawrence. 35 and all the way out to the 41-yard line. Now that is the way to get your offense going in the second half with that kind of field position.
Special teams again in a bowl game with the break. Just been such a factor this bowl year. Great field position. First 3 drives, NC State had the ball, 126 yards, 2 touchdowns. The last 4 drives, 7 yards. Good adjustments by East Carolina on defense. But again, they'll get back. North Carolina State needs to get back to what they did in the first drives.
Also, as we mentioned, field position played a part in those last 4 possessions. Barber. Jones will nail him at the 47, maybe the 48-yard line. Tell you what, that's pretty good combination to draw to right there. Jones and Barber.
That is excellent. Anthony Barber, number 24, the freeze option, and he was out there with a defender one-on-one, but was able to juke him and get pretty good yardage on first down. You see the tackle leader.
Also, the superlatives offensively, Barber and Downs, 103 rushing yards. And you can see the numbers on Blake in that first 30 minutes. The big fullback. He will have the first down and a couple more. Greg Maynard, the battering ram, across midfield, and he will have it down to the ECU 46-yard line as Derek Taylor and Gardeel combine to make the stop.
Ron, I've probably said this, I don't know how many games we've done this year, but I've probably said it every time. First 5 minutes of the third quarter is really important, and it's important for one of these 2 teams to draw on the edge. And the other thing to look for is the adrenaline that the team spends in a bowl game, how they play in the second half. Some teams sell out so much before in the early going in the first half that they don't have much left in the second half.
Barber, he gets tagged at the line of scrimmage. Didn't get much of a head start that time as Tony Davis, 53, a sophomore out of Boston, Mass, is there to make the stop. 12 carries now for 69 yards for him, for Barber. And they'll have him again next year. He's only a junior out of Garner, North Carolina. Aubrey Shaw comes in, replacing Barber, bringing the play to the sideline on the 2nd down and 6.
They threw a delay to Aubrey Shaw the last time. A little short route over the middle.
Jordan staying in the pocket. That is a great pass and catch situation to Aubrey Shaw. Jordan just stood tough. He had pressure coming all over him and delivered it right on the spot he needed to get it. Going to be short of the first down by 3.
I think Aubrey Shaw misread the coverage on an option route, which that was. He should have broke to the outside away from man coverage, but I think he read it as zone and hook, but still made the big catch.
I think you're exactly right. And it's 3rd down, and they have to take the ball to the 35-yard line. Pitch goes to Down, and he is close. I don't think he made it. No. That's Jerry Dillon, the junior from Lake Placid, Florida, who helped stretch it out. And no, not from where they had marked it down. He's going to be yard and a half shy.
The outside linebacker made a big play on that for East Carolina, Jerry Dillon.
Michael, what do? Do you punt it or do you keep it going? As we see Davenport coming in, I think there's our answer.
I think you're going to need points to beat Jeff Blake and East Carolina. I think you're going to need a bunch more. And this is a gamble. It's a gamble that Dick Sheridan feels like he has to make with that offensive team on the other sideline.
Maynard, 1st and 10, Wolfpack. Davis and Jones, the 2 middle backers, come up to make the hit.
See, I think when you're on the sideline and you're trying to figure how many points it's going to take to win, and you get some key situations like this in short yardage, and you know Jeff Blake, you want to keep him off the field. You don't want him on the field. And so if you can take these long drives, he's on the sideline over here, and you're just going to need some scores to beat him because he's capable of scoring on one play.
Remember, we told you off the top of the telecast that Scott Adell, the senior from Fletcher, was the best of the offensive linemen, and that's who they ran behind on that big 4th down play. Here's the pitch to Barber. Gets the juke, and he's outside. Turns the corner. He'll go inside the 25 to the 24 before Grandison and Dillon combine on the stop.
I'm going to tell you something. Mike Cassidy, the defensive coordinator, is a graduate of the University of Kentucky. I knew him back when he was at Paducah Tillman High School. Was in great shape defensively there. He sent a blitz, but Barber's speed is able to get him outside in the corner turn to make the big play.
Well, you could see 15 minutes to play in the first half. The Qs out on top of Ohio State, 14-0.
Wow.
13 carries, 78 yards. Now for Barber. Fullback Maynard. Good 1-2 combination. Runs over a man. He is inside the 15 to the 14-yard line. That is tough running.
When you look at this play, what the fake by Terry Jordan is a fake of the toss play. So it stretches you. And watch the linemen here. Watch the blocks as they come off on the defensive linemen. Here's going to be the play. Watch the fake of the toss. You can't see it, but then Greg Maynard comes back inside for the big play.
Man that he almost ran over and injured was his own man. Linebacker blitz is up. Maybe 1 yard. Gary Downs, and that is great lateral pursuit this time by East Carolina to get outside and stop it.
Well, you can see what the strategy is of East Carolina right now. They're going to blitz the second half a little bit more. Watch. Here you see the receiver, Charles Davenport, blocking, and you're going to see Fred Walker come into play. Number 22 make the tackle, and also number 34, Greg Floyd. Look for some kind of rollout pass here to the right for North Carolina State.
Pass complete at the 16. Touchdown, North Carolina State, Robert Hinton.
That should have been a 3-yard catch right there, but Robert Hinton with a good spin move made that a 15-yard touchdown.
His first catch of the afternoon. It is good for 6 points, and North Carolina State has gone back on top in this one. As we go to break, let's look at it one more time. And here's the pass Mike is talking about to Hinton. Caught right there, and watch what he does with it. Gets by Walker, gets by 2 more, keeps his balance. 21-17, our new score. ESPN's presentation of the 1992 Peach Bowl is brought to you by Volkswagen. Enjoy the unique European driving experience called Fahrvergnügen, only in a Volkswagen. And by Delta Airlines. We love to fly, and it shows. Welcome back to Fulton County Stadium. Last football game to be played in here. After this one, it's going to be over to the new Georgia Dome, they'll call it. And they just about have that thing complete. As you look at, that was Jordan, I guess, on the far side.
Hey, this is a growing bowl game. I'll tell you, they do a nice job here. The support that you get in the city of Atlanta, and Robert Dale Morgan's to be commended for the job that he has accomplished here. Look at this crowd. I mean, it's an enthusiastic crowd. It's a great day for a bowl game.
Gray skies, but the rains have ended. Just light sprinkles just before kickoff here. As Foulville kicks it on one bounce into the end zone. And let's take one more look at that touchdown and the move afterwards.
Should have been about a 3-yard completion. Watch number 10, Robert Hinton. Just stop. This is a smash play where the guy goes to the corner. Davenport, number 7. Now watch the bad angle here of the tackle. And he's able to spin out and go for the end zone, and watch him stretch out to make it a touchdown. Here's again. Watch the spin move. 3 defenders.
And what you're talking about as far as angle, the sideline has got to be your other person.
You're right. You have to use the sideline. Just poor angles.
This is the worst field position for East Carolina today as they scrimmage for their own 20. And the crowd gets excited, but what you have to understand is offensive coordinators are not going to have splits or anything else that are going to be in favor of anything but running the football and getting some breathing room down here. Right, Mike?
That's right, and that was the play that they had some success with Cedric Van Buren, number 33. Eventually watched for Jeff Blake to fake that play to Van Buren and roll out the backside and try to hit Luke Fisher coming across the middle.
By the way, Billy Ray Haynes, we mentioned off the top of the telecast, averaging 10.2 tackles a game. He already has 9 in this one. And this is the first series of the 3rd quarter. Play action. Incomplete. He wanted Luke Fisher. I'll tell you, North Carolina State had that one figured out about as well as you can, even with the tight end. They had double coverage on him over the middle.
Had defended with Clayton Henry, number 88, David Merritt, number 34, but again, they tried to roll out and throw back to Luke Fisher. That's a play they've had a lot of success with all year. To give you the wango action to try to move your linebackers with the quarterback, and then they sit Luke Fisher right over the ball. But North Carolina State covered it very well.
He will be sacked. Ricky Logo, 3rd time of the Wolfpack today.
Looks like North Carolina State to me went back to more of a standard defense where they're just trying to play their defense, their 50 defense, and keep the 2 linebackers inside. And they got a little bit more of a pass rush there out of Akins, number 96.
It's been a thorn in the side of North Carolina State off and on this year, and that's pass rush. But 3 times they've gotten to the quarterback today.
They're a team that likes to defend the field rather than put a lot of blitzes on you, but they should end up with great field position right here after this punt.
John Jett waiting at the 1. And NC State has the return on. This is a good coverage kick. Not real long. Liddell George. And he gets tagged by Jones, breaks off the tackle, able to have 5 more. 7:50 left in the 3rd quarter. 21-17, Wolfpack. Well, it's a young East Carolina fan with the saber in hand. Nippy here in Atlanta, but nobody's feeling it right now.
Ron, this is a position in the field where I think you could take a chance and gamble with either a reverse pass or something deep to Davenport right here.
Good observation. And Jordan, now with the shifting of the defense with the Pirates, comes up with an audible, and they try to get outside with Barber on the run, and he will have a couple. That's it. And let's go back to Tim Brando for an update. Timmy, what do you have for us?
Ron, Coach Gottfried mentioned a reverse pass. How about this? Russell White to Sean Dawkins, back to Pulowski to Russell White would lead to a Greg Zomalt touchdown run. California leading Clemson 7-0 in the first quarter at the Florida Citrus Bowl in Orlando.
Against that Clemson defense, they better pull out all the stops.
They better use reversals and everything, because they
tackle to tackle, you lose your head.
That's right. Big Chester McLaughlin in the gang.
Turn Chester loose. Happy New Year. Pitch to Barber. Ooh. There's a clip, and there's one flag, and now a second. And, you know, it really didn't have to be, because the play was not going for that much. What's going to happen is NC State's going to wind up with a second down and about 18 yards to go, because from coming from the spot, it was at least beyond the line of scrimmage.
2 penalties in this game have really hurt NC State. The first half, they had a drive going where they were across the 50-yard line. They lost
Todd Harrison caught that beautiful pass.
Right, and lost yardage. They're going to lose field position here. I still think they've got to get the ball to Davenport somehow. He's the big play receiver for them.
Offense, 15 yards. Repeat second down.
On the penalties, 4 for 35 and 5 for 34 as you look at the season average in today as far as NC State is concerned. So now this one goes back to the 42-yard line. And the line to make is all the way down at the East Carolina 36. You're right, Mike.
Yeah, you got to pump it
That's
up.
huge.
You got to get the ball to Davenport here. You know, the penalties, they don't look like a lot, but the timing of the penalties have hurt both teams.
Intercepted by Jones. And the All-American linebacker will take it down to the 31-yard line. Well, if you want to know the numbers on the All-American, 8 tackles and now 1 interception for him on the day. Robert Jones.
You talked about field position changing on this interception. You're going to watch Robert Jones set in the curl area, and then he's going to break on the hook route and intercept the football of Terry Jordan. Watch him set up. Now he sets in the hook zone, picks off the pass. Field position now is East Carolina's favor.
Boy, Jordan just for some reason became mesmerized and didn't see him. Blake. Oh, what a pass, and complete at the 20. Now they're going to say incomplete. Folks, I can't tell you, with 3 people coming after him, going against the grain, how in the world he even got it away, let alone threw it that fine.
It's a good evaluation of coming to his left and putting the mustard on the football. He threw the football with good velocity, so he has good arm strength going both to the right and the left.
See the numbers on him today, 12 of 22, 181 yards. This is big, I think, as far as East Carolina is concerned.
Well, they had the turnover before that they didn't turn into points. They have to turn this into points.
Blake sets over the middle on the little delay. Johnson. And he will get hammered at the 24-yard line. Billy Ray Haynes continues to mount his total of tackles. Deion Johnson. That name works well in the stadium, doesn't it?
Sure does. Watch Deion. He's moving in motion, and the linebackers are dropping so deep that he's able to catch the ball underneath. Now you look for him to try to break some tackles. If you're North Carolina State, Billy Ray Haynes, number 50, you really have to wrap Deion Johnson up.
3rd down. The line to make is the 22-yard line. Movement by East Carolina. She'll now make it a 3rd down and about 8. Bill Lewis shakes his head saying, guys, how many times have we jumped off?
Illegal procedure. 5 yards. Offense. Repeat 3rd down.
Well, the 3rd down receiver has been number 91, Luke Fisher. In the past, they've been able to go to him.
Clayton Driver has come in at split end, replacing Hunter Gallimore. And he is to the right at the top of your screen along with Johnson. Blitz up the middle. It's Haynes. Pass is put up for the end zone for Driver. Incomplete. Savage was the closest man to it for NC State.
Interesting strategy by Billy Lewis and his offensive staff. Steve Logan, the offensive coordinator, they felt the blitz was coming. They were right. They kept the tight end in, Luke Fisher to block, and they had a one-receiver route. And that's what they were trying to hit. They had it against man coverage. They had exactly what they wanted, just good coverage by North Carolina State.
So it stops the clock with 6:29 remaining, third quarter. This will be a 46-yard field goal attempt by Anthony Brenner. Got the distance, but no, off to the right.
Two key words here, missed opportunities. Twice on turnovers by NC State. East Carolina has failed to score points. Looked like he got underneath it just a little bit and popped it up and didn't get enough of a drive into it. Anthony Brenner, number 13.
Just like when you try to... Let's go down to Adrian Karsten. Adrian?
Well, Ron, with the ECU defense just coming back in, they've suffered a key injury to linebacker Ken Burnett. Jerry, we can actually see on the x-ray here where exactly the break is. Now, how do you treat this?
He has a fracture of the mid-shaft of the radius, the large bone here in the forearm. You see in the lateral view, there's some overlapping of the bone fragments. He also has some rotation here. Now, they're going to cast him here. What will probably happen, they'll take him back to Greenville, North Carolina tomorrow and probably take him in the operating room, the surgery, and put a plate right here, maybe about 6 or 7 screws in to hold this together. It should heal nicely, but he's going to be out for about 8 weeks.
All right, Jerry, thank you. Well, Ron, now really the responsibility for this defense falls in the arms of Tony Davis, Ken Burnett's replacement.
Ken Burnett, a senior from Spruce Pine, North Carolina. We wish him well. That, by the way, the catch by Davenport, only his second of the game. He has 2 for 15, and he ran into his own man, Scott Adell. Otherwise, he might have had a lot bigger game. Jordan zips this one incomplete. Robert Hinton, who caught that swing pass for a touchdown earlier in the third quarter, was the man he wanted.
Just ran out of room. They had a corner route on, and he just ran out of room. Robert Hinton, number 10 from Terry Jordan. Look for him on third down here. Try to run the football again. They're getting away from the running game a little bit too early. They've had success in the first quarter. Credit East Carolina in the second quarter for shutting down.
North Carolina State 5 of 10 on third down conversions today. They need the ball all the way out to the 39. He's got it. Davenport. Greg Grandison has to make the stop, but there's the man that Mike Gottfried was talking about that they have got to unleash.
Got to get the ball to Charles Davenport, number 7. Watch him with just a little bit of an in route. You see the cushion he gets. Defender fell down, makes the catch for the first down across the 45-yard line. Greg Floyd, number 34, was the defensive back that fell down, came up and made the play. Now get back to the running game on first down.
Well, he's got those first 2 in there, Maynard and Barber, who they like to run with, and he goes with Maynard, the fullback. You can see Robert Jones, one of the first men, number 44, to rock his head back and send him in the opposite direction, just shy of the 50.
And he's sending a 240-pound fullback back the other way. Robert Jones is a player, and it seems like he's played here forever. I coached at Pitt against him, and Greg Gardell from Johnstown, PA, the defensive tackle, number 59, was also in on the play. But Robert Jones, a very active linebacker, reminds me of Quentin Coryatt from Texas A&M.
Barber, as he gets stuck at the line of scrimmage, a gain of 1. But he had to pay for it. Freddie Walker came up and was assisting after he'd been hit around the ankles. And the first man was Gardell, who did hit him low, and then Walker came up and finished him off.
East Carolina's defensive strategy now has become very simple. They're blitzing on first and second down and trying to force NC State out of running the football on first and second down. So they're going to have to throw on first down a little bit more and try to open the game, run the ball on third down. But East Carolina's doing a nice job of trying to pressure this NC State offense right now.
second or sixth play of the drive. You see the blitz coming past to Davenport, and look out. Oh, boy. Greg Floyd barely grabbed him at the ankle as he had made an outside move on him.
That's the trade-off. If you're going to blitz somebody, then you're going to be in loose man coverage. Watch the blitz come here. They're just doing a lot of blitzing right now. Three-step drop by Terry Jordan. Hits Charles Davenport on just a quick look-in route. And now number 34, Greg Floyd, has to make the tackle. So you have, it's whatever poison you want to decide right now. You try to stop the run, you try to stop the pass, but you got to guess right.
NC State has already had more third and longs in the third quarter than they have in the entire first half, though.
You're right, they have.
Try to counter the option. He does. Breaks off the tackle, and it'll be first and goal at the 9-yard line. And when they looked at the video again, whoever the player was who hit him at the line of scrimmage didn't lock up. He had him for a loss.
I don't think, Ron, I think you're right, but I'm not sure he even saw it. He's going to turn, and then he's going to come down the line. He's going to turn, come down the line right here. The defensive player comes in and makes contact, but I'm not so sure he even knew he had the football. Let's watch. Good block. That was a good block by the tight end. And then he's able to get up inside for good yardage. Good block by the tight end, Todd Harrison, number 84.
Yards on that sprint for the quarterback, Jordan. Downs at the 1.
Now look for the jet over the top. The ball to go to the tailback and the leap over the top right here on second down. That's number 45 over the top. For the big fullback.
Greg Maynard, touchdown for North Carolina State.
Good job by the offensive line of North Carolina State, opening up for Greg Maynard. They took Gary Downs, the tailback, in motion, brought a linebacker out of the inside, and just sent the big fullback, Greg Maynard, in the line for the touchdown.
Block. So, interestingly enough, that would have made it an 11-point game, and now we're back on track. It's a 10-point game.
I think Robert Jones may have got that. Somebody got it up inside because there wasn't a lot of arc on that football.
So we go to break. 27-17. It's the Wolfpack on top. And for those thousands you spend on them attempting to matriculate, it makes you understand that they are getting the kind of education that makes them take off their shirt on a 36-degree day.
Well, Robert Jones, let's watch number 44 right here. He's going to leap up along with Jerry Dillon, but he gets it with Robert Jones, number 44, gets it with his left hand. And you like to block college kicks up inside because they've taken away the tee. And they don't get the height right off the ball that you need to get sometimes, and they were able to get up there. Robert Jones has controlled this football game. He has played a great game for East Carolina.
For sure he has. 12 tackles, 1 interception, and 1 block point after. 10-point game. It is incumbent upon his offense to get something going. Down 27-17. Johnson from 2 yards deep. Just like that, at the 47-yard line. They're going to say it's a 49-yard return. William Strong saved what could have been 6.
East Carolina did as fine a job of blocking that kickoff return as you're ever going to see. Watch the blocking set up. It's a left return. Why? There's a block. There's the second block. This tackle. Now the blocking going downfield. Good job saving the touchdown by forcing him into the sideline.
Van Buren going to be knocked down for a loss, and it's Haynes. Billy Ray Haynes has had an equally outstanding day on the North Carolina State side of the ball.
I agree totally. He's done the same thing as Robert Jones done on the other side of the field. First down, East Carolina maybe running the outside stretch play and getting into a pattern, because NC State really looked like they played that one pretty well.
Lofted pass caught by Luke Fisher, and he is inside the 40 to the 38-yard line. $17 yards in the play. Van Buren will take it to the right side for 3, maybe 4 yards. Cedric, a junior out of Charleston, South Carolina. Doesn't have great speed, but he's very durable, very dependable back.
They like their extra back to sometimes be a receiver, and they haven't had the yardage in the rushing game that they'd like to have this year. They haven't run the option much in this ball game at all.
11 carries, 65 yards for Van Buren. Draw play. Daniels hit at the line of scrimmage, and he is going to lose a yard on the play, and guess who? Billy Ray Haynes.
Billy Ray Haynes saw the blocking pattern of the offensive line. Watch number 50, the linebacker. He sees it's a draw. Watch him break up, make the tackle. The offensive right tackle couldn't block him because he read it so soon, and he was up inside. There's just no way to block him on that play. 5-10, Billy Ray Haynes.
Third down, they need the ball inside the 29. Got a man. Oh, my goodness, Gallimore dropped it. Had him cutting toward the sideline, and he had beaten his man. And I tell you what, the guy who just looked over at the bench and went, whoa, is Dwayne Washington, because he had turned him loose.
I think they have to go for this on 4th down here. I think Jeff Blake needs to stay on the field. They need to try to pick this first down up. Watch Hunter Gallimore, number 82. Here's the clear out. There you see him come underneath. The linebacker deep. There you see Billy Ray Haynes trying to get to him, but he can't stay with him. Just drop the football. I'd come back with something similar to that because of the drop of the backers. Now, this is going to be an interesting call, Ron.
The line was still. They had not gone to a 3-point. And I think, well, let's wait.
I think this, what do you think?
I think it's going to be on the defense because of the contact.
Because he was just moving just to
That's
set.
Right. Yeah, he was moving to set. They have not gone to the 3-point.
I think they've got a real discussion here because as I watch this, I'm not sure how you'd call this one.
Red ball. Ball start. Offense. 4th down.
I don't know about that call now. Going to see the replay here. Let's see. See what the officials saw. Yes, left guard moved.
Yep, good call.
Hey, what an officials group. The Big 8 group. We've got a Big 8 group in here today. Good job.
John Laurie is the referee, and it's an excellent call. Yeah, we didn't see him move inside, but that's certainly against the offense. Good high pooch kick this time. Turner back deep, and he's going to try to catch it wide inside the 5-yard line. Good heavens.
You have a 10-yard rule all the time where you tell your players don't ever catch anything inside the 10-yard line.
Well, you thought this was the last college football game at ESPN this season. Well, think again. All-Star season begins on January the 11th with the Japan Bowl from Yokohama. BYU's Ty Detmer leads the nation's best senior talent when West meets East next Saturday, 10 o'clock Eastern time. I made that trip last year. Very interesting. Yokohama. They enjoy the football over there.
They have any spaghetti or Italian food?
No, they didn't have any spaghetti. They had a lot of pom-poms, though. It's probably going to be the final play of this third quarter. Yep, it will be. So we go to the final 15. Let's take a break. It is North Carolina State 27 and East Carolina 17. Well, Dick Sheridan and his staff, knowing that they have got a 10-point lead, but against the offense of East Carolina, what they better do is they better have some more sustained drives and take time off the clock because they're very explosive.
They need a big drive right here. They've got poor field position.
Barber, and he's going to be whacked down hard at the line, and now here comes in a late flag. Tony Davis made the stop. Tony is the man, of course, replacing Ken Burdett, who you saw the guys down on the sideline. It is going to be holding against the Wolfpack. Showing the x-rays of his broken leg.
Came from the
broken
side.
arm, I beg your pardon.
Yeah, this penalty came from the side, Judge, so it probably was on the tight end. Came deep in the backfield of East Carolina.
Offense. The penalties declined. Third down.
An interesting call, declining that penalty, but now they put the
there he is right there. That's Ken Burdett. Already got that thing in a cast, and his Dr. Jerry Punch said to put some pins in it tomorrow. Okay, third down. Here we go. They need the 15-yard line. Mark Washington comes across to knock down Barber on a huge defensive play. Well, and now the Pirates should get good field position.
They went to a 4-3 scheme and brought the linebackers. Mark Washington, number 99, did penetration on Barber. He never had a chance to cut that. So a good call by Billy Lewis to turn down the penalty. Now he's forced them into a fourth down situation. They're going to have great field position. They should try to block the punt again.
Score for an average of just over 36. His longest is 50. And again, a high passer coming after him, and they didn't plane out. Mike, I think they could have blocked it. Johnson, meanwhile, fumbles it, and North Carolina State has recovered at the 48. Oh, NC State, or East Carolina with a mistake at both ends of the play.
You're totally right. Special teams again. I said it at the beginning. They're still trying to argue who's got the football. They gave a signal for North Carolina State, and they're giving it again. But you're right, Ron. They had a chance to block the kick. They just didn't extend the arms to try to take it off the foot of the kicker. And then on the other end, Deion Johnson fumbled the return. And I said all along in this bowl season, the kicking game has played such a big part because of the layoff that coaches haven't got the time and to work with the players because you take the breaks. Here's the possible block. See, he's got his hands straight up. He's got to
do is go parallel to the ground.
No, you're right. He's a special teams. He's got to take the ball off his foot. Then on the other side, you have the dropped ball, and North Carolina State picks it up.
Well, it was a mistake of about 45 yards. Has dropped for a loss. Derek Taylor comes across and hits Jordan. So the defense doing their job. But the special teams right there cost them. We'll see how dearly it does cost them.
I'll tell you what, this game reminds me of a boxing match where you got East Carolina on the ropes and just about ready to go out, but North Carolina State can't knock them out. It's like George Foreman against Evander Holyfield. He stays in there, and the longer they stay in there with that potent offense, they can get back in this game with a quick strike.
You're right.
It's a key drive for NC State to try to put them away.
Trick play here. That's a lateral. He can throw it. He has to dodge the pigeon, then gets the pass away. And Davenport will make the catch and score. Hartman had one blocked a moment ago and knocks this one through. Let's go back and look at the trick play as the The lateral went back behind Terry Jordan, and as we said, you know, you can only throw one pass in a play, but that's a lateral. So this one sets it up. Liddell George.
When you get to the 50-yard line, that's where you want to try your trick plays. And what happened here is Liddell George threw the high fly to Charles Davenport, but Fred Walker, number 22, you're going to watch Davenport come down inside. He's the big play receiver on this. There's two receivers. Now the ball's going to be thrown up. Watch number 22. Fred Walker just loses the football and can't come around and find it. He spun around, and Charles Davenport had his eyes on that ball all the time and made the reception.
So all of a sudden, it is a 17-point game, and 3 plays ago, East Carolina should be looking at the worst, a safety in their behalf and getting the ball back, if not a touchdown on the blocked kick, and all of a sudden they've been scored on, and they're down almost to the point of too much hill to climb.
They're not out yet, but I'll tell you, that was a blow right there to the head. And you just had to figure eventually Davenport, being the big play guy, was going to make some kind of big play. Now, East Carolina still has 13:01 on the clock with Jeff Blake. They still need to just take their time and be patient, try to work their way back in the game, not come back firing and try to throw deep and get an interception picked off against them. North Carolina State's strategy now will be to loosen up a little bit and give you the 5- and 7-yard catches and make you work the clock.
Fauble with the kick. Wind is going to hold this one up, and in fact, a fair catch was signaled for at the 15-yard line by David Daniels. Tim Brando, what do you have for us?
Ron, you and Mike have been talking about the kicking game and practicing it. Watch Brian Treggs on the return, and look at the wall of blockers set up. The final block thrown by number 1, Darrell Brown, right there, keying Brian Treggs 72 yards. Clemson is not trailed by 17 all year. They're down by that many with 2:51 remaining in the first at the Florida Citrus Bowl.
Tim, when you have those big layoffs and coaching and working timing and everything, the kicking game is the one area that really in bowl games can stand out. And boy, this bowl season has been a big standout.
Blake over the middle, wanted Luke Fisher, and there's nothing there. And now just to reinforce what Mike was talking about, the linebackers, there was a wall set about 7 yards off the ball, and the defensive backs looked like they were in outfield in baseball.
The Atlanta Braves outfield, they were deep back against the wall. They're going to make them work now. To work the field, try not to give them the big strike that they gave to Hunter Gallimore early in the game.
12 minutes and 56 seconds left to play in this one. East Carolina led it at halftime, but in the second half, it has been all the red and white of the Wolfpack of North Carolina State. Over the middle, complete to Driver this time. To the 31, Billy Ray Haynes makes the stop, and that will move the chains for the Pirates.
That's exactly what North Carolina State's plan is. They'll probably mix in some blitzes and play some zone coverage behind it, but make this East Carolina team work the field.
Quick out pass, this time to Gallimore. Around the 40-yard line of Sebastian Savage. And Dr. Jerry Punch, what do you have for us?
Guys, you know how tough it is to win a national championship. NC State did it twice in basketball. 74 with Norm Sloan, 83 with Jim Valvano. But the cheerleaders behind me have done it 3 times in the past 5 years. They are the national champion cheerleaders of all Division I. They certainly have the emotion pulsating here on the Wolfpack sideline. Back upstairs.
Blake taps one time, and then he's going to go up on top. And it is intercepted at the 5-yard line by Mike Reed.
East Carolina tried to get the bundle on that play. Mike Reed, number 3, was in pretty good position. Looks like a little bumping again on number 85, Clayton Driver. Ball was thrown a long way, intercepted by Mike Reed.
Reed 9 tackles and 1 interception in the ball game. Not very good field position for NC State, but they simply couldn't care less. They just want to take some minutes off the clock, and I think this is not the first time we'll see Maynard hammer with the football.
Boy, that graphic that we just saw on the screen, 4 turnovers for East Carolina in this game, and 2 turnovers for North Carolina State. But let's go back. The 2 turnovers that North Carolina State had, East Carolina did not turn into points, so missed opportunities. And I talked earlier on about how sometimes the adrenaline flows so quick and you push so hard in the first half and preparing for a bowl. I think NC State has a little bit more in reserve right now in the second half.
Maynard again. He will take it about a yard shy of the first down. I'll tell you what, if you guys can get a shot, that pigeon is still about 2 yards off the line of scrimmage, and he's not moving for anything, is he? Can you see what the officials now walking up to him, trying to get him to get up and fly, and he's just going away at that some kind of seed that's on the ground.
I'll tell you one thing, that seed's more important than his life because he's about ready to get stepped on. That's an eating pigeon there, boy. Put an ISO on that pigeon.
Maynard hammers it up the middle. And Adrian Karsten, what do you have for us here in this fourth quarter?
Well, Ron, I'm afraid unlike what Jerry Punch found across the field on the other sideline, cheerleading is the last thing you will find here. The one thing that Coach Lewis was bothered by earlier in the week, he said, North Carolina State has been to 4 straight bowls. We haven't been to a single one. They've been down by a couple of touchdowns, nationally ranked teams, but with about 10 minutes left to go in this game, I'm afraid midnight may have struck for Cinderella.
Well, there's something about a bowl experience. North Carolina State has it. East Carolina will be back in bowls, I'll guarantee you that.
Now that running play will come out near the 25.
This is amazing. That bird has not moved. He's still right there at the 18-yard line.
In fact, officially on stats, we've just been given to East Carolina 49 yards passing in the second half, pigeon 85.
Well, I don't know what the pigeon's passing, but he's still there.
34-17. About to go under 10 minutes to play in this one. Pitch to Barber. He will be hit as he tries to turn the corner. Mark Washington and Robert Jones combining to the stop, and a late flag has come down at the line of scrimmage.
Folks, there's what we're talking about. That pigeon right there has not moved. They've scrimmaged around him. They've just missed him a couple times, and there's just some things more important in life, and I guess it's food. Those seeds that they put down there, that pigeon is not going to leave till he has every seed. Look at it.
Holding. Offense. The penalties decline. 3rd down.
Well, the official walked up to him a bit ago and started to kick at him and then thought better of it, and I'm sure because it'd be some kind of activist watching or in the stadium who would come and protest.
I tell you, I'd like to have that pigeon on my team because he's not afraid of anything. Players miss him. It's almost like the players are trying to avoid him too. Don't bother him while he's eating.
Well, they run away from him. They go right up the middle, maybe a yard of the play. And we've just been handed the attendance, 59,322. It's a Peach Bowl record. The previous record, 1987. Tennessee and Indiana had just over 58,000.
Change that. 59,322 and a hungry pigeon.
Tim Kilpatrick. When you look at the box score, you will look and see that he punted and punted well, but he has been an integral part and has done an extremely good job in the special teams for North Carolina State. Deion Johnson is back in a single safety. Off the side of his foot, and just as soon as he gets Bragg done, that punt will be at around the 30-yard line. We'll be right back. ESPN's presentation of the 1992 Peach Bowl is brought to you by Delta Airlines, We love to fly, and it shows. And by Budweiser, the king of beers, with that clean, crisp, cold taste. Nothing beats a Bud.
Well, part of the record crowd on hand for this 1992 edition of the Peach Bowl, the 24th edition. Next year will be indoors. It'll be in prime time on January the 2nd. We played it at the Georgia Dome. Blake's pass complete underneath. Johnson's going to be wrapped up as he goes to the 23-yard line. Now Texas A&M and Florida State 7-2. Seminoles leading that one with a minute left. Syracuse at halftime over Ohio State. And to tell you, 17-0 California leading Clemson. With Clemson's offense, that's almost too much of a hill to climb for them.
California has good defense.
Pass is complete and out of bounds at the 15-yard line is Van Buren.
That punt of 10 yards really has given great field position to East Carolina. Second half, here you see the possessions. Punt, missed field goal, punt, and interception. They've got to cash this one in to get back in this football game.
Blitz up the middle, pass incomplete. Gallimore's who he wanted. Billy Ray Haynes was streaking up the middle, and the senior out of Forest City, North Carolina, had a pretty good lick on Blake just as he delivered it. 18 of 33, 2 interceptions, 247 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Those are the numbers on Blake.
East Carolina's been able to come back this year on several occasions. Syracuse game, there's a lot of time left, 8 minutes in this game.
To the far side, caught by Fisher. 1st and goal for East Carolina.
Boy, nice route by Luke Fisher. He ran a corner route, but what was more impressive was the fact of the way he reached out and put his hands on this football. Watch the corner route now, breaks away from number 32 on defense, but watch the catch here. Reaches up, brings the ball back in. Sebastian Savage, number 32 on coverage.
It's 7 catches for Fisher for 94 yards.
He is a good receiver, and Jeff Blake likes to go to him.
Fade route incomplete. Van Buren's the man he wanted.
They had success on their touchdown that they scored early, the first touchdown on a play-action pass down here. They tried to run the option, you remember, the second time down and get thrown for a loss. You want to put Jeff Blake in some kind of position where he's running outside with the ball with a pass-run combination.
Pass overthrown. Fisher is the man he wanted. Well, they really have shown disdain for the run down here, haven't they?
Well, it goes back to, again, they haven't had a good running game all year. Their running game's off the option, and they like to put Deion Johnson in the backfield. Their whole belief is they want the ball in Jeff Blake's hands, and they want him throwing the football. But so much, when you get down here, some of the times, the biggest question mark you have to have is whether they're going to play a coverage of zone or man, because you don't have a lot of field to work with down here. That's why I like to roll him out. If I'm going to roll him, I want to roll him out.
Option play. Did he get in? Yes. Touchdown. Jeff Blake.
Tough to defend in the goal line. That's the option that they ran. They came back and ran a different option. Steve Logan, good call, the offensive coordinator. Ran the option to the left, and the pitch man, Charles Miles, was taken, and Jeff Blake just ran it in for the score. Then another option quarterback, passing quarterback for Jeff Blake, a kid named Travis Hunter in 1988 and 89, who was very effective as a quarterback for East Carolina.
Kick by Brenner is good, and let's, as we go to break, take one more look at that touchdown by Jeff Blake.
I think the crowd's booing because they didn't think he got in the end zone. Let's see.
Looks like a good call. I don't think his knee was on the ground. So let's take a commercial. 10-point lead by the Wolfpack. 7:26 left in this one. Ten-point game at North Carolina State. And Mike, is it too early for an onside kick?
No, I think if you're North Carolina State, you got to figure they may onside kick here. You're down 10 with 7:26 in the clock. You got that option, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if they onside kick it.
He boots it away. It's going to be Lawrence from the 13. Hang on. Lawrence all the way out to the 46-yard line. And right now, the East Carolina staff is saying, heck, if we'd onside kicker, we wouldn't give it up much more field position than that.
Well, you know, you got to take some chances. But East Carolina's a team that's come back all year. They're not out of this ball game. There you see what they did against Syracuse. They came back and
they were down 20-10 in that one. He came back.
Won 23-20 against a very good Syracuse team. Pittsburgh, 24-23.
So they are capable with their offense. And your point is well taken. They're not out of it, and particularly with just about 7.5 minutes left. And that's exactly what Dick Sheridan had wanted either, and that is to run out of bounds and stop the clock.
No, and they're running inside to the short side again because of the strong safety and the coverage that East Carolina's given. They got the extra man there into the boundary, so look for them to stay into the boundary.
Well, that's been their motto all year. They have a lot of faith that they can make it happen.
You know, they've just got a great coaching job, Billy Lewis. He talked about after the Syracuse game, looking at the players' faces after the game when they had lost, and he said, I knew then I had a special bunch because it meant something to them and that they were just anxious to come back and play again and win. And they've had a great year. I don't care what happens here.
Draw play. Barber will be wrapped up as he crosses midfield by Tony Davis.
You know, just imagine what they've accomplished, though. Haven't been to a bowl game for a long period of time. They've had good coaches. Mike McGee has coached East Carolina. Ed Emery, Art Baker, Pat Dye did a good job there. But Billy Lewis, after the 4th game, they were ranked 39th in the country. They only had 4 points in the AP poll, and they've come all the way to 12th. East Carolina.
Short drop with a quick out pass, incomplete. Eddie Goins, what happened? He just kind of looked around as though he heard somebody coming. He should have caught that one.
Watch the throw by Terry Jordan, and again you see the receiver just take his eye off the ball. Well, they need
let's see if
Kilpatrick
with a 10-yard kick his last time. As you look at Johnson, had a no-no. That was costly. He fumbled a punt here in the second half. Johnson will let it go, and it will go into the end zone, just barely. Dr. Jerry Punch, let's get an update from him. Jerry.
Gentlemen, the signature for the Wolfpack the past 3 years has been defense, ranked in the top 10 in the nation, and 2 of the guys standing beside me, the little guys here, were primary reasons. Mike Jones, off that bowl-winning team of a year ago, now playing defensive tackle for the Phoenix Cardinals, and All-American and first-round draft choice Ray Agnew with the Patriots. And Ray, you guys are really turning it around. Coach Mack doing a great job.
Yeah, Coach Mack is a great coach. We're glad to have him. We brought the fun back to New England. I hope he stays there as long as I'm there.
A couple of players that NC State would like to have on defense right now as they try to hold on these last 6.5 minutes. Back up there.
Thanks, Jerry. Continued success to both of them. 10-point game. East Carolina looking to try to come up with something. Gallimore makes the reception, and he really takes a blow. I think that's a long pass. It's a very hard pass to throw. And Blake just doesn't even wince. He just zips it out there.
He has so much confidence in his throwing ability and his accuracy and the velocity that he puts on the ball. Just a very confident quarterback.
Over the middle. This time it's Van Buren, and he will be down at the 34-yard line. Good for the first down, so it looks as though exclusively from the shotgun formation is how East Carolina will run this final 6 minutes and 9 seconds. And with their offense, as we mentioned, I don't think you can ever count them out.
No, and they've got good receivers. If you're North Carolina State, though, you want to make sure you wrap up and you tackle. You don't want missed tackles now because you're going to give them a short route. Don't miss tackles.
Well, one guy who just hadn't dropped them today, but he did there, is Luke Fisher. He already had 7 catches for 94 yards, and that's when he lost concentration on a drop.
They're a score away and an onside kick away from taking the lead in this ball game because they're very capable, as we talked at the start of the show, the big plays that they've had through the year. Billy Lewis, just a great job coaching this year.
On second down, has his man at the 50, Clayton Driver, and down to the NC State 45-yard line.
See, there was a missed tackle there on Clayton Driver, and he picked up an extra 5 yards. Now they go with the no huddle. They continue to go with the no huddle. You see the slow snap. Watch the crossing route underneath. That gets the linebackers up, and that's what opens it up for number 85, Clayton Driver. Then the missed tackle, 5 more yards.
Pass is complete, and it will be down to the 37-yard line. And you could hear the groan by the crowd, and what I think it was the NC State crowd, the tackle of the guard on the right side, and I couldn't pick up who it was because I had to stay with the quarterback. Blake just tackled the defensive lineman as he came across.
Looked like a holding call, wasn't called, and I think then people were expecting Jeff Blake to run the football and pick up some yardage, but he wants to throw the football.
That will be enough for the first down, I believe, if they give him a spot at the 35, and they do.
You're seeing a team that believes in the 2-minute offense. As I said earlier, you work. I watched them work it. I watched both teams. So North Carolina State has worked this very part of the game also. They know what to expect. Now it becomes just a group that's going to execute the better.
Well, you can see from the spotting they did not pick it up.
Keeps the clock moving also. No, he got out of bounds. So it's still 5:09.
He did get out of bounds. We had trouble. There are so many kids on the sidelines right there that it obscured our vision. We're in 4-down territory anyway. And I'm surprised. I guess he wanted to make sure that he went ahead and picked it up. But I'm a little surprised that they did that to take time off the clock.
Well, they know the clock will stop now, and they'll have a chance now to get back. Clock still hasn't started. Now it starts.
Pass is complete, and that is good for 9 yards. It's Fisher, his 8th grab of the day. Now, for people sitting at home saying, what is NC State doing? What they're doing is they're cushioning, as Mike said, with the linebackers, and that's the Boyd zone. If they bring them up, then you hit them deeper, right in between them and the safety.
You've seen them hit Hunter Gallimore behind the linebackers. If they cover Hunter Gallimore, they go underneath just like they are here.
Fisher with the catch. It'll be an East Carolina first down inside the 20-yard line. Tyler Lawrence is there defensively. The other thing I want to get you to comment on is the fact that this shotgun formation is a couple of yards deeper than what most people use.
He is deep, and because he has such a strong arm, he can back him up a little bit further, and they're not getting much of a rush. So they're only rushing 3 people on him. But now, where the problem has come from East Carolina is once they've gotten inside the 15-yard line and running out of room. Now, see if they can solve that on this series.
Big pressure this time, and he just throws it away.
NC State decided to get a blitz on him to try to get a little bit more pressure and try to get him to hurry.
And, you know, now the discussion goes on. He had no time to look at it, but NC State had messed up their coverage. Fisher had broken open at the 5-yard line, and that's the reason the defensive backs are having their little powwow down there in the secondary.
Man coverage, they had a crossing route. Somebody lost a man, that's why he was open. But Jeff Blake just didn't have time to get rid of the football.
Good time for him to have that kind of pressure, huh?
Good call defensively.
Johnson over the middle. At the 5, he'll score. Now then, I think you go for 2 here.
I think you do. I think you consider going for 2 here to put yourself in a chance for a field goal to win the game.
Yep, and that's what they're going to do.
They like the option on the 2-point play. They ran it earlier against Pitt in the year, but it doesn't look like a formation for the option.
And now a timeout is called. So they burn one of the 3. Let's take it with them. 34-30, North Carolina State. Well, here's the situation. NC State 34-30, and East Carolina lined up to go for 2 and to put them in a position to win with a field goal should they be good on the 2-point conversion, but they called the timeout.
Now they're in more of a formation to run the option. I'm not sure that's what they'll call at this time, but remember the 2-point play against Pitt was an option play.
Ball is dropped, and Blake can only go down to make the recovery. So the situation is now they got to score a touchdown, get the football back, and score a touchdown if they're going to win this 24th Peach Bowl game.
We talked about what North Carolina State had to do on defense. They're playing a lot of zone coverage, and you have to break on the ball. Here they brought a linebacker late on Jeff Blake, but watch the missed tackles. That's what you can't afford. There's 1, there's 2, and that's what causes the touchdown. You have to keep people in front of you in zone coverage, make the tackle, do not miss the tackles in that situation.
All right, now Dick Sheridan understands this situation better than anybody. They can't have a 1-2-3 and out. They've got to pick up at least 1 first down because East Carolina's last 2 scoring drives, 7 plays, 32 yards, 1 minute and 15 seconds. The other 11 plays, 80 yards, 2 minutes and 6 seconds, so they can score in a very short period of time.
Well, now that really the strategy comes right here for Billy Lewis, the onside kick here or not. I think now you kick the ball deep. Before I felt like you should have had the onside kick. Now I'll kick the ball deep. I have 2 timeouts. Count on my defense to hold them. Try to get myself field position where I can come back and win it at the buzzer.
Lawrence and Barber, the 2 deep men. Runner's kick. Going to come down to Lawrence. The fate of the 1986 Peach Bowl rested on the shoulders of Virginia Tech kicker Chris Kinzel, with North Carolina State leading 24-22. Kinzel booted a 40-yard field goal. This on the final play of the game. And Virginia Tech got its first ever bowl victory. Well, we mentioned to you that there have been some fantastic finishes. They try the reverse, and Davenport is going to be dropped for a 9-yard loss by Jerry Dillon.
Wow. Tough call right here, and a great play by East Carolina. Here you see the reverse with Jerry Dillon, who's responsible for the reverse. Broke up and made the play on number 7, Charles Davenport. And still, East Carolina has 2 timeouts remaining.
Running play will pick up 8 of the 9 that they lost just a moment ago. Downs will be stopped by Robert Jones. And now 3rd down. East Carolina looking to the bench. Still no signal for a timeout to stop the clock. As we show 3:13, now 3:12 left in the ball game.
I think they have to throw the football here to try to pick this first down up. You can't play passive now because you've got a 3rd and 11 situation. Even if it's an incomplete pass, he stops the clock. You've got to try to pick this first down up because East Carolina is too hot to give them the football.
Quick out is dropped.
I think you throw the football, but you got to throw it a little farther down the field to try to pick up the first down. But that's twice that play's been dropped. Now the pressure goes to the punter. Tom Kilpatrick, number 37, because East Carolina's been close on him a couple times, a block and kicks.
Yeah, they really have.
This may be the time that East Carolina wants to set up a return and try to get Deion Johnson in the ball game.
They came after him, lazy spiral. Johnson will get a chance to return. Will he ever? Johnson inside the 45, and he's down at the 42.
Deion Johnson, you want the ball in his hands. He's your best running back. He avoids the tackle, bursts up inside, now picks up great yardage to the 42-yard line and puts his team in a great chance to win this football game. Now North Carolina State's defense has to play a little different right now.
Flags down all over the place. Pass is complete to Fisher.
That should be on the offensive tackle of East Carolina. It looked like he moved just a little bit early.
And right now, the bench, this is a rare situation, but the players are asking the East Carolina fans to be a little quieter because they thought that maybe they couldn't hear the cadence.
Disregard the flag. The defensive team moved into the neutral zone. The offense was in a two-point stance and moved. No play, no foul. Replay the down.
I think East Carolina got away with one there, which is very fortunate for them.
Mike, I didn't look up. Was any time did it come off the clock because they didn't put any back up there? That would be a very important point also. Okay, they just put 5 seconds back on the clock to answer that question. Over the middle, it's Johnson again. And he will be stopped at the 34-yard line by Tyler Lawrence.
Watch the left side of your screen. Here's the play that just before where the tackle moved. You see the right tackle? He moved, and then they didn't get the call. Terry Tillman, number 78.
Pass over the middle again. It is complete. Ball is loose. Recovered by East Carolina at the 30-yard line. And it's Van Buren who got on it. Good heavens. So if you've just joined us, 2 minutes left in the ball game. It is North Carolina State 34, East Carolina 30, and the Pirates are driving with a first down at the Wolfpack 30.
Luke Fisher's been the man on the spot. He's caught the big pass plays for ball possession.
Deep over the middle, incomplete. And he was off his target on that one. Driver is who he wanted.
What if you're East Carolina you look for right now? You're throwing all the short routes and you're doing all the right things. Eventually, you may get one of those defensive backs to bite and be able to get the post behind them. But right now, their strategy is clear to try to keep hitting the open receiver over the middle. Hope NC State misses a tackle or two, and you keep driving down there toward that end zone.
Blake sets very deep, drills his pass, has it complete, and out of bounds is Luke Fisher. And I'll tell you, Blake has now gone with a new career high, and we'll double check it in just a moment. That's going to put him over 350 yards, Mike, for the day. 30 of 51 for 356.
He has had a very impressive day. This is a big third down situation for East Carolina.
.140 left in the ball game. Pass is caught. Fisher will score.
Frankie Valli starting to hum a little bit there wherever he's starting to hum, I believe, right now.
Pumped a little life back in him. I think you're right. Good heavens, what a comeback. 1:32 left in the game, and East Carolina trying to make it a 3-point lead. He's got it. North Carolina State just a moment ago led by 17 points. I believe has been their theme all year. And right now, I believe it is beginning to work again.
Watch Luke Fisher, and again, a missed tackles. He comes down, just runs a little curl route. Good break by Reed on the ball, just couldn't come up with the incompletion, and couldn't come up with a tackle. Jeff Blake, a happy quarterback.
So, if you have just joined us, to mention again, East Carolina, at the beginning of this quarter was down 17 points. And right now it is 1:32 to play. East Carolina 37, North Carolina State 34.
Can't count them out. You can't ever count them out, but I'll tell you can't count NC State out either. They've had the big key on this will be what kind of return they get on the kickoff. Now you start to look at the field goal kicker for North Carolina State, because the pressure may fall on his shoulders if they can get in his range.
Kick is going to come down to Lawrence from the 4. Lawrence has been very tough, and he is again. He'll take it out close to the 30-yard line. So now we have 1:27 left in the ball game. Blake with 4 touchdown passes. That is a new Peach Bowl record. The old record was 3, held by 5 different individuals. Jordan on first down over the middle, has it complete, but it'll only go for about 3 yards as Davis comes up to make the tackle on Chris Williams. And of course, North Carolina State, in their hurry up, will not have a huddle. You got to keep an eye on Davenport, because he's the guy that can break it open.
They've got 3 timeouts left. They've got time.
Pass caught by Chris Williams, and I don't believe he's going to have the first down. Nope, not from where they have spotted him down.
They're going to stop the clock maybe to measure here, which will be a benefit for NC State.
Yep, it sure will. As you can see, under a minute to play in this one.
Now they want the clock back, and NC State's not ready to go. I don't think they know the clock's moving.
Jordan's pass is caught by Williams. Did he catch it in bounds? Yes, just across midfield at the 48. 14 yards, most importantly, a first down, and he stops the clock.
.37 seconds, 3 timeouts.
Jordan deep over the middle, incomplete.
Start thinking about the field goal that you need. Damon Hartman, number 13, has kicked a 56-yard field goal. He'd like to have the opportunity here. His ball club can get him closer.
37-34, East Carolina. 32 ticks left on that clock. Jordan's pass is caught by Davenport, and I'll tell you, he's one man from going the distance.
He was close. I'll tell you, there was movement in the North Carolina State offensive line that time. They got away with one that time.
Greg Floyd tripped him up. So there's a timeout on the field. 37-34, the Pirates. Will be right back. So there's the situation. 26 seconds left. 37-34, East Carolina. Only one tie ever in the Peach Bowl. 74, Vanderbilt and Texas Tech finished deadlocked at 6 apiece. Jordan, heavy pressure, and he will go down. Kumalai, loss of 17.
Oh, he knows he made a mistake too, Terry Jordan, because he just had to try to throw the ball away, not take that sack and take himself out of any kind of field goal range. Watch Terry Jordan set up the throw. He's got to be smart. He's got to feel the rush. Now he's got to get rid of the ball. He doesn't get the opportunity because of the pressure of Zaim Kumalai, number 50, and Derek Taylor, number 97. A big sack by number 50, Kumalai.
Kumalai wears number 50 because he has tried to pattern his playing style after Chris Zorich, who wore the number 50 for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Dick Sheridan has to be a tad in disbelief as you look at the partisans from East Carolina, because just at the beginning of this quarter, his football team led by 17 points, and we were talking about, was it too much of a hill to climb? And you said at that time, Mike, with this offense, absolutely not.
They're a big play offense. They're always in every ball game. They're, as I said, like a basketball team that shoots three-point plays all the time. They're constantly firing, trying to score.
Well, the next sequence, 1 or 2 plays, which is about all North Carolina State has time left for, certainly could be the biggest play or 2 in East Carolina football history. Zings it over the middle, has it complete, and Hinton at the 30-yard line, and they're going to stop the clock with 6 seconds left. Mike, this is very attainable here, because this would be a 47-yard field goal attempt. It is within the range of Hartman.
Boy, good pass there. There's a lot of time wasted at the end, but watch the throw. Just a nice throw by Terry Jordan to Robert Hinton.
I'll tell you also, the spotting of the football, since he never went down, is terribly important, because every inch from this distance is an absolute mile when you're a kicker, right? Under this kind of pressure.
Sure is. Damon Hartman from a suburb of Atlanta, Georgia, Roswell, Georgia. Number 13, the place kicker for North Carolina State. If they decide to try to kick now with 6 seconds to go.
Don't you think they've got to?
I don't think they have a choice. You got to try the field goal right now.
The ball has been placed out at the 31. So drop it 7 yards off that. It's going to be a 48-yard attempt.
Now, if I'm East Carolina, they've got a couple timeouts left. Use them.
Icing.
Try to ice him right now.
Well, what Colorado did it 3 straight times to Nebraska.
Remember the block kick early in the game on the extra point. Robert Jones. Watch him come up inside. Try to get as much of a jump as they can inside.
This would tie it. He's got the distance. It is off to the right and no good. One more look. And from that angle, you could see, Mike, he had the distance, didn't he?
He had the distance, just off to the right.
Dick Sheridan starts the long trot across the field, and the reaction on the other side from Bill Lewis, and he realizes his football team has just won.
He's got
their
a top
11th game of the year.
He's got a top 10 football team. I tell you, they came back. They came back against the odds.
So we'll go to break. We'll be back here in Atlanta in just a moment. The Pirates have captured it. Well, I've seen Bedlam before. I don't know what you would describe this on the floor of Fulton County Stadium right now. And down in the middle of all that is Adrian Karsten with the winning head coach Bill Lewis.
Rod, thanks very much. Coach, you described this as the biggest game of your life. How does it feel?
Absolutely. This is the most fun I've ever had with a football team in my whole life. And this was the biggest game. We talked about nobody, players, coaches, nobody had ever been in a bigger, more important football game. And then to have it unfold the way it is, I think it had special meaning to I Believe.
Coach, have you gone as far as you can now here at ECU? Do you take the Georgia Tech job if offered?
No, I don't have any feeling for that. This program can go to the next level, and we talked about it. The fact of being able to come back and do this consistently year in and year out.
On those last two drives, was Jeff Blake calling his own plays because of the time allowed down there?
What we were able to do is we were able to get most of them called from the sideline, and most of the calls came from the sideline.
Coach, enjoy the biggest win of your life. Ryan.
Well, let's take one more look at the field goal as we wish you a very happy new year and a great beginning to 1992. As this is going to be wide to the right and no good. And East Carolina, well, the miracle season is theirs. Now for Mike Gottfried, Adrian Karsten, to Dr. Jerry Punch, I'm Ron Franklin saying so long from Atlanta. And again, Happy New Year.